Well, hello everyone, and welcome to season 3 of the Black Sails rewatch. We've done it. We made it to season 3. We're almost done. Next week will be the last one. And I am here where we're rewatching the show. We've already seen it before, and here we are again. And I'm here with Kyle Entertainment.
That is me. I am I. We are here this evening. Like how pirates say. Nobody says it in the show. Shake my head. No one has a parrot either, not even Blackbeard. Embarrassing. But we are here. Season 3 has been watched. We're here to talk about it for anywhere from 2.5 hours to 3 hours.
Yep.
Or potentially a little bit more. The first part has just gone up for us, like an hour and a half ago. Hour and 50 minutes ago, to be exact. So we're very excited. Spinning off the hundreds of thousands of views that first part.
Yeah, go watch it.
You're soldiering forward. Yes, go watch it again. And you got to rewatch them all, including this one, in the coming week in anticipation for the fourth one.
Yep. All right. Well, in terms of what we're covering, so season 3, we've got so following the events of Charlestown, which was the end of last season, Flint's crew is killing.
He remembers that now.
Oh, I remember so much. I'm fully up to date, which is great. Following those events, Flint's crew is killing public officials who execute pirates. Nassau has a union between Jack, Vane, and Flint about handling the Urca gold. Rogers comes to Nassau as its governor and is tasked by Spain to retrieve the Urca gold. Blackbeard returns to Nassau and leaves with Vane. Flint's crew gets chased into a storm by Hornigold, and when they make it out of the storm, they arrive on an island full of former slaves. Flint convinces the queen of the former slave colony to fight alongside him and build Nassau into a place where slaves from all over the world can go to. Flint goes to Blackbeard and fights him and wins Vane over. Rogers is forced to give Jack over to Spain along with the gold. Flint, Vane, and Anne save Jack in an amazing one-shot sequence thing. Rogers gets a bad flu and is out of commission, so Eleanor takes over him and executes Vane. A large-scale battle happens on the island of the former slaves between Rogers, or rather Eleanor's forces, and Flint and the former slaves' forces. And the season ends with a victory for Flint's side and the legend of Long John Silver being created by Billy. So that's it. A lot of stuff.
What a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Also, just quickly, to already be at each other's throats with contention.
Oh, no.
Rogers is just injured, right? He doesn't actually have the flu, or does he have the flu?
Oh no,
I just thought he was injured.
He definitely has the flu. He's like, yeah, his fever got worse or something, didn't they say that? Or is that you?
Yeah, but couldn't that be because he got beat up?
Well, yeah, but I mean, why would they have the flu subplot if it's not
I've never considered that he had the flu. They did bring up the flu a bunch.
Oh, absolutely. He has to have the flu. I mean, maybe both. Maybe he's he got worse because
he conveniently got it while he was beat up and quarantined, though. That don't make much sense.
Yeah,
unless he had it beforehand.
Maybe he was with all the sick people when they were tending to him. I don't know.
My vote is that he did not have the flu, and Ari's recap was wrong.
All right, we'll see. Everyone, leave a comment. Yeah,
re-record it right now. No. But yes, lots and lots and lots and lots of stuff happened. Are we giving overall thoughts?
Yes. What do you think?
My rehearsed opening speech. Mr. Ari, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. There was no jury for Charles Vane. How disgusting. That's a side point. For the longest time, I said that Black Sails fans, they were cowards. Not only were there few of them, but they were cowards. They used to say season 1, this terrible season. Every season afterwards got better. And I would always say, I don't know about that season 3, It was kind of weird, kind of wacky, kind of a slow start. Don't know. Well, turns out, come to right now, the past week and a half or so, I've been rewatching season 3. These last couple of weeks when I've been rewatching the whole show, it turns out, like most things in life, the cowards were right, Ari. Can you believe it? Best season so far.
Wow.
I'm embarrassed. Can you believe it? Actually, I don't know. I was thinking a lot of it, comparing it to season 2 a lot, and I'm like, man, these are two very different feels.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Every time I think of maybe season 2 is better because there's no Mrs. Barlow in this season. Can it really be up to scratch? But we got Blackbeard. Ari's already freaking out.
Absolutely. What a character, my goodness.
But yeah. It's definitely better than season 1.
Oh yeah.
What a television program. That was my rehearsed speech. I wanted it to come back to the cowards being right as they always are.
I'm glad you liked it.
I'm sick of
yeah, I
them.
wasn't sure which way you'd go because I remember you saying that season
Took you on
3,
the
like they have the
yeah.
storm or something, and that like slows it down, and I'm like, okay. But
I was like, man, this Flint prick isn't even in Nassau for the first 5 episodes. Turns out that's the best part. Maybe not.
Interesting.
It's pretty good though.
Okay.
I liked it a lot. Episode 3 might be the best episode, but
Oh man. All right.
what a time to be alive. But I guess you go into your overall thoughts now.
Yeah, I think I generally agree. Like we recorded our last one, and then I started watching season 3, and I think at that point I was the most like into the show that I've been so far. It was crazy. Like I wanted to like binge the show basically at that point. Like I know until now until the end of season 2 I'd been watching like 1 a day, and very rarely I'd watch like 2 a day. But like the beginning of this season I was watching 2 a day easily, like a few days in a row. And then I slowed down at the end because it was just I was getting a bit too ahead of time here, and you still had to catch up, but here we are.
Yes.
But yeah.
No, keep going.
No, essentially it was just great. I love this season. I think it's the most engaged I've been in the story, which is great. Yeah.
Yeah, my viewing pattern was very interesting because initially I was just doing 1 a day, and then I think I hit like episode 4, and then I took almost like 4 days off because I was trying to finish this fucking House of the Dragon video. What a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, go watch it.
And then in the last few days, I've watched like the rest of the episodes. So I think in the last 3 days, and I've watched more than 1 episode every day, I think. So I was very in for the first time too, because before that, I don't think I watched any. Maybe I watched the last 2 of both seasons the day we were recording, but outside of that, like out of my own want or desire, I had not binged it either, but I did at the back end of this season for like the last 6 episodes. So what a time to be alive.
Yep.
There was something else you said that I wanted to respond to, but I've forgotten. Imagine that.
Yep.
Also, something we usually bring up at the beginning, or at least we did last time, is what you didn't remember and how I could laugh at you for not remembering it. But there's not much, and I can't remember anything you didn't remember, except that one time I brought up the Max speech on a stream one time, and I'm like, man, it's the best scene in all of Black Sails, Lamau. And you're like, I don't remember that scene at all. Do you remember the Max?
Oh,
the
no.
Max
Which one?
Speech now?
Oh,
My Father.
We're going to have to talk about that.
We'll get into it in standout scenes because it's number 1.
All right. Yeah, go ahead.
You'll remember it when I get into it, I'm sure. Is that it? We don't want to do any more overall thoughts? There was something else I wanted to say, but I'm fucking missing it.
No, I don't know. I guess
I
do have something in overall thoughts, which is that I remember saying, like, I think it was the first season we talked about how, like, the quality of the show has a certain quality, and then when Blackbeard gets introduced, it, like, bumps up to another level of quality. And
maybe you said
this. Yeah, I said this, definitely. But, yeah, so I think it's really interesting, because I kind of agree with that still. Like, I think it's this season has been, like, a big bump, mainly because there's so many other, like, multiple storylines going on that are all, like, equally interesting. But I think I take that back. Like, I think just generally my perspective on the show as a whole now is that, like, season 1 is like, I think like your speech in the beginning, where it's like season 1, like what most people think, is not bad, but it's still very good. Like, I'd say 9 out of 10. And then season 2 and 3 just like so good. And I think season 4 will also be so good. But so I retract my previous statement about Blackbeard. That's my overall thoughts. But,
yeah, the Blackbeard's an interesting thing. We'll talk about him later. But I actually, what I remember what I was going to say is that because it had to do with remembering. So
excellent.
I was going places. There was also more stuff I didn't remember coming into this one, whereas I feel like I remembered most of everything for the first 2 seasons. Now, I do remember all of Max's speeches, unlike some I know. But actually, there were a bunch of Max and Eleanor scenes that I'd completely forgotten about, so I'm lying. Oh, when the Spanish spy lady showed up, I was like, oh my god. Like, when I saw her, I remembered everything about her character. I even remember her scene in the final episode. But, like, until I saw her, I'm like, I haven't thought about this character since I was watching the show. It was such a mindfuck of, like, holy shit, I forgot about her entirely.
It's me with every character. It's great.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was a particular one. I was like, oh my god, she has a very specific look too. So I was like, oh yeah, this girl.
Yeah.
I was like, wacky. That was a big moment for me when I saw her. I was like, it was like a weird moment of like, how did I forget about this?
What's her name?
But yeah. Oh.
I've got no idea.
A quiz, like, you know, when you're smiling
you could
right
say
now,
anything, and I'd have
no
no idea. No.
Embarrassing.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember her name.
Yeah. So standout moments.
All right, standout moments. I got a bunch of them here, and I didn't actually take any for today's episodes, which is fine. Um, Her father, my father, the Max speech with Anne in the cave. Do you remember what I'm talking about now when they're dividing up the cash and she's talking
Yeah,
about her
yeah,
childhood?
certainly.
Oh my god,
I remember
greatest
it.
speech I
Yeah,
ever
that's
saw
the
in my
thing. We're
fucking
gonna have to
life.
talk about it later because I did not understand it. So
Do you have notes about it
I
later?
do.
Oh, you
I
didn't
definitely,
understand?
yeah, I definitely have a section saying, Kyle, can you explain this to me, basically?
Oh,
So
I look forward to it. We're not
yeah,
doing it now, but I look forward to it.
okay.
Oh, and this is something I brought up last time, which is my second scene, is the I'm ruined over you. And I remembered the
Mm,
line as you ruined me, which this is one of the hallucinations he's having with Mrs. Barlow. I don't know why I keep calling her that.
mm,
Actually, now, Miranda, that's her name. I was like, oh no,
wow.
I actually did forget her actual name. Miranda Hamilton, can you believe it?
Yep.
But yes, I this was another one of the moments. I also was struck while watching the season where I'm like, nearly all of my favorite moments, all of those like one-liners that have stuck with me since watching it, are all in the season.
Mm,
There are a lot in season 4 too, and there were some in the preceding seasons, but a lot of them were in this season. And I was like, how did I ever convince myself that this was the worst season?
yep.
Um, what an edgy boy I was trying to be in the face of these cowards. Um, but yes, but the I'm ruined. It was a situation because it's interesting because I've talked about this before, and I always bring up the Boardwalk Empire example of sweep the fucking sand versus sweep the sand, and
Yep.
how like I remembered the line as something and it had like a lot of impact, and then when you go back and you actually watch it. And you realize it's not how you remembered it. There's sort of a disconnect. I actually had this talk when we were talking in season 1 about the Gates and Flint look back and
Mm,
forth at the end of episode 8, I believe, and I was like, oh, it didn't really hit as much because it wasn't exactly how I remembered. This is why I think rewatching the rewatch is always the most important rewatch, the
mm,
third time through, because then you remember it as it is. Um, so you're not allowed to just watch something twice anymore in the Kyle Entertainment world view. You got to watch it 3 times, potentially more.
Jesus. All
Um,
right.
3 times, and then you can make a video about it. I would have broken that rule quite a bit though,
Mm-hmm.
since this is only our second time and I just made a Black Sails video. But anyway, I'm Ruined Over You was different, but it still hit as hard. It was like the antithesis of the examples I just brought up. I was like, man, greatest scene I ever saw in my life. Besides that other one that I just
Yep.
called the greatest scene I ever saw in my life. Flint's speech to the Maroons. That's like the slave camp. I think that's what you call them, like Marooners.
I don't know. I call
But
him the
yes, his
slave.
speech
Yeah.
about the slave camp. Or he just calls them slaves.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I call them former slaves. Former slave. All right.
Not all of them are former slaves. Oh,
I feel like they are. Like
I
that's the
guess
whole
maybe.
thing.
Because I was going to say the wife isn't, but she was.
Mm.
Scott's wife, but we'll talk about that later.
Yep. Yep.
But yes, his speech to them about killing England, my goodness, made me want to
Yep.
run through a wall. I was ready to fight with him.
Absolutely.
The spy confession scene, I'm talking about the woman. Hold on, did you have something to say about the
No,
that
I
speech
just
thing?
absolutely agree. I thought that was a great speech.
That was
Yeah.
another one I remembered though. So these are all ones I remember.
Right,
This
right.
was one that I don't remember hitting me as much the first time, which was the woman we were just talking about, the secret Spanish spy, her confessional scene. It's not even her stuff, like she kind of kills it too. But mostly Rogers' reaction in that scene, I really like it. I
Mm.
love reactions. And him slowly freaking out in his like body language and him slowly putting it together was sick. And then like his anger at the end when she's like, I'm going to assume that everything you said is true because this lie would be
Mm.
humongous, and you can, it was just like, oh, I like everything about this. Show the reactions.
Hmm.
Show Videl fucking reacting to the Vegeta backstory or whatever.
Yep.
That one GBZ example I always bring up. Can't believe they cut away. My next one is Flint and Rogers talk on the beach. What a time. I don't know. We're going to talk about all of these in more detail. I have a bunch of them. The cart chase, Lamau.
Oh,
Everybody loves that one.
Yep.
I'm devoted to you now. I love you now. That Eleanor speech, I loved it. I have a feeling not everybody will, but I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the last one I had written down because I didn't write any down for the last 2 episodes. But
Yep.
the whole last episode could be on there, I guess. But
Yeah.
I guess this is where I hand it back over to you.
Okay. Well, my standout moments. I guess the first one is a bit miscellaneous, but I think it's from the first episode, which is a conversation with Jack and Vane. How they're essentially, it's after Jack has sent Vane to go get the slaves, and like Vane's angry about him or angry to him about it. And then Jack basically like yells and like ends the conversation by saying that he's not going to let him down. I like that. Like, I really like their relationship in
Yeah,
that
it's
first
one of those
episode.
Jack speeches.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, and I'm not gonna let you down. I refuse to let you down. And I'm like, oh man, look at these two bros here, you know. So I like that. It's a standout moment. The shark scene, of course, when Flint and Silver are working together to get this shark, and they're putting their differences aside, and they're just starting to respect each other. I'm like, man, this is great. I really like that. Teach versus Flint, of course. I really like that whole the whole setup to it, where you've got like Flint talking to Vane, and then you've got Billy as well, like just really attentively watching because he wants to see the downfall of Flint. And then the actual fight itself, where like Blackbeard seems to have lost initially, but he doesn't. But it's just such like it's kind of like a humiliating moment for him, where it's like everyone is just silent, and it's like, oh man, this guy has just fallen. But I don't know, it's just so visceral to watch it. I love that fight. And just like you said, the Rogers and Flint talking, I just love that scene. Like the directing, the dialogue, the dynamic of these two characters who they can relate to each other quite well. Is really interesting. The same as you said with the rescuing Jack scene in the cart. I thought that was really cool. Actually, that's probably the scene in this whole show that I remember the most, because I remember like the first time I saw that, I just rewatched it so many times because I was like, man, this is so well done. And then I have two more. The second last one is Vane's death. I just love that whole everything to do with it. Arguably, that's my favorite possibly of the whole show. I really like that scene.
There's one, and obviously my love affair with Charles Vane this time has continued into season 3. This is when he's the best.
Yep.
No, never mind. I'm not saying. The one cut where it's like, I don't know what it's a cut from, but it's a cut to him in the cart going towards the execution site, and it's like silent, and in this moment you would expect like some sort of like dramatic background music to cut between the scenes, and it's just like silent.
Yep.
And like you can't even hear like the horse cart fucking sounds or whatever. I think it's just when the preacher goes in. Preacher's back again.
Unbelievable.
I told you in a previous episode that he was in the Vane scene here. And you might not have believed me, but haha.
Yep.
Always right. But yeah, that it's like a cut from that and his monologue there about, oh, I'll tell God myself or whatever the fuck.
Yep.
And to him, it's just like, oh, what a sick. So good.
It is. It's fantastic the way they executed it. Oh, I got it. All right. So the last. Yes. The last standout scene is I don't know how obscure this is. Like I have no idea if this would have stood out for you or anyone else. But in like when they're setting up the final fight on the island of the former slaves, you have the scene where they're docking the ship like close to the water. Or close to the land, sorry. It's just so good.
Yeah.
Like the music of how they do it and the directing where you go under the water and you like see the anchors drop and it's like slowly turning around. And I just thought that scene is so well done and the music is just so good in that scene. And already I've rewatched that so many times. Like after I saw it, I was like, man, this is great.
It's funny how often they just like ignore the Groot.
Oh yeah.
And his like reaction to it is always really cute.
Yes, a genius.
But yeah.
A silent genius there, that man.
He's just so fed up with these fucking useless captains and quartermasters. They always seem to work out though.
That's it.
Did you? Yeah, that's it for you. Did you? I guess. Hold on, what's the schedule like? We can talk about. I guess I'll bring this up now. This is kind of attached to overall thoughts.
Yeah.
Do you think that this season was much more thematic than the first two, or maybe more obvious in its theming?
Oh, I had the complete opposite. I even have a point about this later where I'm like, I was confused at some points about what's happening thematically and why it's happening.
There's a lot of stuff with slavery, obviously.
Yep.
Because Vane in the beginning is very against the slaves, and then we get like the recontextualization with what Scott was doing the entire show, and then obviously the slave camp and things like that. Then Flint is also talking about being a slave to like the dark thing inside him, which I actually have a point about this that we'll get into in probably the Flint section about. I think last time I said like the thing, because in season 2 they introduced this idea of the thing inside that character. I actually think the thing inside is Flint, and and it's like the thing inside James, if I'm on a first name basis with the man. But they talk about being a slave to that, and Silver sort of developing that inside. We'll talk about all that, but that's sort of a slave thing too.
Yeah.
There was also kind of a point in this sort of slave thing. I guess this is just generally a power thing about like, oh, everybody's got to answer to somebody sort of up the chain. Even Vane, who wants to be, he sort of embodies freedom the most. But that's also a big theme, like freedom and Blackbeard and Vane's view on it versus
Yeah.
Flint's view of Flint, like we have to kill England to be free, and they just sort of view the ocean and being like hunters as being free is like their savannah, I think. I think Blackbeard says at some point. There's also a shit ton, if we're switching themes now,
Yep.
of meta stuff. That's almost not meta stuff that I do want to talk about at some point. But I might talk about that at the end.
Yeah. Okay. I'm interested. I don't really know
Where
what
like
you're talking
there's
about.
like a whole, I like the last episode. There's like everything that Flint, and because they do the thing where they cut to the night before conversation with Flint,
Yep.
and Silver throughout. And everything they say to each other there can be taken in like this extra dimension of meta shit. It's like, but yeah, I don't want
Okay.
to talk about it yet.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
But I was like, I was mind blown as I was watching this again because I'd never even thought about it before that. But yeah, I think we should get back to the structure. Just thematically
Yeah.
overall, there was some things that got me thinking more so than other seasons, I think. I feel like last time a lot of it was to do with identity, like season 2. Like Flint deciding who he is and us finding out who he is more. And
Yeah.
but yeah, whatever. Themes and stuff. What a bunch of boring bullshit. Let's talk about acting and characters.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
So
Where are we traveling to first?
we're going to start with Flint, the man himself.
Where else would you
arguably
start?
the main character of this show, possibly.
Yeah.
Would you say he's the main character? Would you even say
Well,
this
yeah,
has a
most
main
certainly.
character, or is it more like Game of Thrones, where it's like, Jon Snow is kind of the main character, but
It's definitely more like House of the Dragon, the greatest television
right.
show of all time, because there's a smaller cast. But
Yep.
I don't know. I guess I would say Flint and Rhaenyra are kind of equally featured, and I
Yeah.
would say they're both the main characters. It would be interesting if you did like a math thing of like who's in it more. You could make an argument that Silver's the main character, and we sort of follow his journey throughout the show, whereas Flint kind of
That's a good
doesn't
point,
stay the
yeah.
same, but it's sort of Flint the whole thing. Because Silver's in the first scene, though Flint is in it too, but we see Silver first. He's the first main character we see.
Yep.
But it's probably between those two. Like Eleanor, I think she dies in like episode 5 of the next season,
Oh,
so
no.
she's not in it till the end. Jack becomes much more of a main character in probably season 2 and moving forward.
Yep.
Vane obviously dies. You couldn't say he was the main character. He's also like the main antagonist for like the first half. Yeah, got the whole fucking thing.
Yep.
Fuck this Billy prick. He isn't the main
No.
character, but yeah, it's definitely
It's Flint.
we definitely cast a wide net with the cast.
Good
and
one.
it's a shipping show where you
You're
cast the
Kyle,
net.
you're a genius. Look at
I'm
you.
working on 3 layers here. But yes, Flint's the main character.
Beautiful. I agree.
What a champion.
Okay.
And the best character.
Yes, absolutely. Still. And
I'm thinking about the Max monologue. He's not the main.
Oh
He's not
my
the best
goodness.
character anymore.
I'm interested because so far Flint has been my favorite character, but I don't remember where he goes next season at all. So I am interested to see, like, if rewatching it, if he stays that way.
You remember the speech in the last episode, at least?
No, not at all. I mean, maybe I'll remember
You
it
don't
when I
remember
hear
the
it.
dragon's line?
I remember it because you had that video you just put out, and you had like something you mentioned it, yeah. but I don't remember it. I'm very much looking forward to it. But Flint section. So my first note here is about how he essentially has a very clear arc in this story or in this season where he opens clearly very angry and suicidal after the loss of Miranda in the end of last season.
Yes, he's inflicted in his goals too, because he's sort of abandoned everything him and Thomas stood for. And then this other prick shows up, embodying all those things. And fuck that prick. Actually, I like Rogers.
Well, he doesn't hear of Rogers until much later. Yeah. So I think he has his whole arc before he even interacts with him, I think. Like in that first he's angry, suicidal, probably feeling a bit like he's lost a bit of who he is, and then slowly his anger like kind of gives way to depression. So rather than being angry and like going after all these governors and stuff, he starts getting a bit depressed when they're in that cage. And I guess I've even got one speech here that apparently Silver gives a speech where he gives a speech to Silver where he starts questioning like if the pardons are the victory. So rather
Yeah.
than fighting the partners, they should just be embracing them. And that's like the peak of Flint's depression, I think, where he's like, man, I guess everything I have done is for nothing. And then I guess after that, he then moves on to creating a new purpose for himself, which is to build a new Nassau. And he does that because of Silver's help in pushing him and saying, you know what, you can do it, Flint. If you put your mind to it, I'm sure we can build a new Nassau.
Well,
what do you? Yeah.
Well, I think the overall point is that he's very lonely, and then Silver becomes his friend and becomes his new mate / Thomas / Mrs. Barlow, because that's what they talk about in the last episode too.
Yep.
He just needs a friend, and then Mr. Silver becomes his friend. It's cute.
Yep, it is.
Was that the end of your recap or not?
So in terms of recap, yeah, that's it. I mean, that's just my my assumption of Flint's arc, I guess, for this season. After that, he doesn't really do much. Like after he has that speech, I guess after he brings Vane to the slave island, I guess he just fights the fight, and that's it. Like there's not too much going on with him after that.
The fight, man, how cool. Yep. But like the last bit is all the Silver stuff, really. Yeah. He's honest the first time somebody tells him about Thomas, presumably. That did happen off screen, but I wasn't mad about it.
Yeah. Yeah, no reaction.
But yeah.
Well, I guess we did get the reaction where he's like, I don't know what to say. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, and you don't have to say anything, he says.
Yeah.
I remember that. And it is interesting how there's like a little difference in how Flint acts in those scenes with Silver in the last episode, where he's a little bit more smiley and things like that.
Yeah.
Actually, this comes into one of my notes about how the death motif runs longer than I thought. I remembered basically Flint stopped being depressed after episode 3, after they killed the sharks. I was like, oh, after that he's fine and up. But actually, he's depressed for the next 2 episodes.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I also thought like, oh, the death motif thingy, because we first see it kind of in like the show that Max puts on in her tavern, where there's like a woman dressed up as Death.
Yep.
But yeah, what a show and a show.
Yep.
Wacky. Meta, maybe. Yeah, but then obviously something very similar is haunting Flint. We get the scene, I'm ruined over you, all the Mrs. Barlow visions and things like that. We first see her in the first episode when after he shoots like the woman that's crying and stuff like that, begging for forgiveness or whatever, and then he looks back and he sees her.
Yeah.
And she's always doing the silent scream thing in the visions.
Terrifying.
Which is spooky. We also get the Flint moment where he like cries when they're being starved and things like that. After he shoots the 2 dudes, and presumably one of them was innocent, but he killed them both anyway. What a Flint moment.
Slowly reloading
does everybody understand?
Yeah.
Yes. I didn't do it. It's so good. Acting so good. Yep. I love that. Does everybody understand? What a cool bloke this Flint is. Also potentially evil. It's the start of Billy's turn, where he's like, if you don't do something, and he does that again, I'm going to do something. What a time to be alive. Those first 5 episodes, when it's sort of the power dynamic between Billy, Silver, and Flint, what a fun thing to watch.
Actually, that's that's an interesting thing, I guess. How fun it is to watch. Like, I think the opening of this season was very fun. Like, that's a great way to describe it.
Yeah.
We got like a lot of new interactions between characters and stuff, and I don't know. It's just it is fun.
There definitely is a sense, and we're getting away from Flint, but like when you cut back to Nassau and you see what it is like, and it's just like the pirate paradise, and Jack and the gang are hanging out, and Vane gets back and he's all mad, and sort of all the character interactions there and everything. And Anne and Max, and then Anne being sent over. It's just all really fun stuff.
Yep.
This season might be the most fun because nothing really, like, first season has the thing, oh, I don't want to watch Max get raped in front of everybody.
Yeah.
Season 4, I'm already feeling the dread of, like, I'm pretty sure it's like episode 2 that Blackbeard stuff happens, and I'm like, well, that's going to be an uncomfortable 20-minute fucking scene to watch. And then the next few episodes after that, Rogers is like tormenting Jack and making him watch everybody get killed as they all try to battle the one big buff dude. Do you remember this scene?
Yes.
You don't?
No, I do. I didn't remember until you said that. Man, what a yeah.
That's also fucking like, I don't want to watch that again. So in season 3, I couldn't think of anything where I was like, I don't want to watch this again. This is all sick. Like, I remember because the first episode I watched after my small break was 5, and then I was like, oh, next one's the one where Flint is going to meet Blackbeard. I can't wait to see this. Oh my god, the scene where he meets Blackbeard for the first time, he's like, I don't give a shit what he
Yep.
thinks. And he's just shit talking Blackbeard. It's like, my boy Flint, he's not backing down from this dumb
Oh man,
Blackbeard prick. Fuck him.
I just
Throw him into
yeah,
the sea.
I love
Shoot
it
him in the
when he
head.
comes out of the boat and Blackbeard's just looking at him like, oh my god, he's alive. Like it's so great.
Yeah, they pull the oh shit he's alive thing a bunch of times, like when they go back to Nassau, even though he's not there.
Yep.
Oh, and in your recap, you didn't mention Dufresne at all, and I was like, haha.
Oh my goddamn Dufresne. He just is an absolute non-character this season. It's crazy. Like at least last season he was a decent part of it. Like he would do stuff. This season he just comes up and dies. He gets mushed. That's it.
He's in the first. He's with Hornigold in the first scene. Yeah.
Yep.
In the first episode, rather. Who cares? Do you have more Flint notes? Or
yes. So.
Okay, because I was concerned here that I was going to have to start to fish for scenes for us.
No, don't you worry. So, okay, my first thing is like a question. My other thing is about a question here, which is you were talking about those visions or like those dreams, I guess he has with Miranda and like the death figure. So I guess I have this weird memory. Is it ever revealed who the death figure is? Is that like a thing? Do you remember that at all? Like, do we ever see this figure again?
I was gonna say no, but now I'm vaguely
because I have this very vague memory of the death figure being Alfred Hamilton. Now it never got revealed, so now I'm like, where did I get this from? Like, is this like some fan theory I read or something?
I thought you were gonna go, and he takes it off, and it's Flint himself. Whoa.
That would make more sense.
But no. Yeah, I don't remember Alfred Hamilton. No.
All right. Well,
I think the only time I can remember him being mentioned in season 4 is when Silver's saying like, oh, maybe he didn't kill his son, and his son's on the plantation, and maybe you can go and see him or whatever. That's in the very last episode, or the second last one, maybe.
Yep.
We get to Israel Haynes next season. What a wacky! I'm just thinking away here about season 4.
Yeah.
Remember Israel Hands?
You know what I remember about him? Yeah, he was very it was hard to get through to him, is what I remember. Like he was very set in his ways. I don't remember anything about him besides that. Which is
becomes Silver's like right-hand boy.
Oh my goodness. That's crazy. Okay.
What a name. What a name. Hands and Israel.
Yeah.
What a name. A real life name too.
Wild.
It is funny. Do you know the distinction between which characters are fake and which characters are real?
I only know because I've been rewatching the Blind Wave reactions, and every now and then, they mention it. But so I don't really know.
Vane,
I guess.
Bonnie, Jack, they're all real, but everybody on Flint's ship, at least initially, isn't real. Like Flint is a character in Treasure Island, so is Long John Silver, so is Billy Bones. I think Ben Gunn is too.
Ben Gunn.
So it's kind of like a fan service thing when he's in the cage and he's like, my name's Ben Gunn or whatever, and you're like, that's the bloke.
Yeah, I thought he was like a spy for the Queen initially, because I just couldn't remember. I'm like, was this guy a spy? I don't remember. Anyway.
Oh, for like the Queen.
Yeah, like he's a plant like in that cage. Yeah, like not the Queen of England. Jesus.
It's a king in England.
Yeah.
But
But Flint has survived.
The king again, Ari. Can you believe it?
Crazy days, Kyle. Crazy days.
Mm-hmm.
It was a public holiday the other day. Anyway.
Uh-huh.
So, Alfred Hamilton is the death figure.
Oh, Alfred Hamilton.
Can you believe it? Yeah. That's my big theory. I don't know why it's in my head, but anyway. So my next point about Flint is just about his amazing speech in episode 1 or 2 that he gives when Hornigold offers all the pardons.
Hornigold.
Yep. And it's so fantastic where it's just it convinces me to want to fight with him and be on his side as a viewer. He's so convincing. Like he talks about how like if they're offering these pardons, then it means they're afraid of us, and if they're offering them in like this big amount, then like clearly their fear is unmanageable. I'm like, man, this is great.
It's so good because Silver even says like he won me over then, and he should never win me over, so I can look out for the men. But so much of it works because Blackbeard starts showing up, and he talks about all the great pirates that he used to sail with. He mentions Bellamy, which is a real life pirate and also a One Piece character. One Piece has all these characters. They have a Blackbeard. Can you believe it? That's how I knew that in the first scene when he's like, I used to play a different trade, and when I was playing that trade, my name was Teach. First time I saw it, I was like, oh, it's like the One Piece guy. That's Blackbeard. Crazy stuff.
Yes, good job.
But yeah, and he mentions Henry Avery, who they talk about in Uncharted 4 a whole lot. He's like a big character, but you never meet him, obviously, because it's 500 years later.
Yep.
They probably mention other pirates, like that bloke 2. There's like something 2 is his name. I know that's like a pirate thing. something, this bloke named Two. But yeah, they start mentioning, and they always mention Benjamin Hornigold with them, so it gives him like even extra. Because I liked Hornigold the first 2 seasons. Obviously, in this season, he's very much cast as a bad guy, and every time he like gloats about killing Flint when he hasn't, you're like, "Fuck this prick." And obviously, Flint's speech here, you're like, "Fuck this prick."
Yep.
God, fuck Benjamin Hornigold. Fuck his.
But what an aesthetic he has. My goodness.
Yes. Oh, he's so good. I love him still. But yes, mentioning him in that vein, for him to now have betrayed piracy and to be a king's man again, and for Flint in that speech to say, "Fuck Benjamin Hornigold and his king," it's like a mocking addition. Oh, it just works on so many levels. It's so good.
Yeah.
I love it so much. That I can't believe I didn't have that in standout scenes.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
And in that speech,
yes.
Flint says that he will do great violence against that thing.
That thing.
It's so great. Like the delivery of that.
Another thing I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
Because the speech is also... Because in the first 2 seasons, he wants the pardons, and he kind of wants to rejoin Nassau to England a little bit, just under his like leadership, and they can be free and stuff. This is because I always remember Black Sails, and I always remember Flint fundamentally as sort of the character fighting against the inevitable, or fighting against the great empire. Fighting against England. He wants to kill England. It's the greatest thing of all time. He'll somehow convince you to kill England, which would kill you centuries later, since at least I assume, descended from British shit in the First Fleet or whatever. That's after this. It's like 70 years into the future after Black Sails. We can't kill England. It'll kill me, but I'm still on board. Fuck me.
Crazy.
Keep going. My boy Flint's got to win. Look at all these slaves. You think this is okay? We got to topple the system.
Yep.
But yes, that only really comes into being in this season, where he gives speeches about fuck England. I guess there is that one scene in season 1 when Miranda is like, "Just take it. Let's just do this thing." And he's like, "I don't want to apologize," or whatever. And then he yells, "To England!" And it's like, oh my God, fuck England. It's so good.
Yep.
But yes, that initial speech there, and that I think it is in episode 1. It's just like the epitome of it. It's like the first example and the epitome of it forever. So good. Fuck Benjamin Hornigold. What a speech. I wish we had the whole speech right here and could go line by line.
Yes.
Make this noise every time we fucking read a line.
Yeah. I mean,
there are other ones too. I was looking when you were going through your stand-up moments. I was trying to Google for that specific Eleanor scene that I want to talk about later, but I couldn't find a transcript of it quickly.
Yep.
So I'll try and remember it when we talk about it later. But so many times this whole show really just has so many great speeches, like just the Jack "they pissed on me" speech from last season.
Yeah.
Just so many great little things. Oh, and in the cart chase, I didn't even say the Jack scene from beforehand, which I think is something I also brought up last time that you said you didn't understand, where he was talking to Woodes Rogers before they attack, where he's like, my dad was drunk, I got stuck with a debt, so I had to run away. And it's like, I made up a lot of ground or whatever. So good.
Yeah.
Just another great speech.
It is.
Like, it's monologues of the show. The normies made fun of it for being monologues of the show. Fuck the normies. Fuck their king. Fuck their pardons.
Yes.
I love the monologues.
We stand blind wave. That's
yes.
Even though they hate Eleanor, that's what I got from watching these reactions.
Yes. Can you believe it?
But anyway, so
I'm here to be an Eleanor simp too.
Yes.
So what a meanie she is.
Yeah, indeed.
We'll talk about that sometimes only.
Yes.
And she's fallen in love with Rogers, and I'm
Flint.
in love with her again.
Let's stick to Flint. Actually, I only have 2 more points here about Flint. The first one is it's about the speech to the Queen. So I guess we've already talked about this a little bit, but
barely. We got
I guess we mentioned it. Yeah. So let me think. So the gist of this speech, like what made it so convincing, is the fact that he mentions that like what happens when the slaves, who are like essentially what powers England, say
everywhere
no more,
in the world,
basically.
He's awakening them.
Yeah. And that's like the core motivation that like convinces me as like a viewer that maybe they can fight England, right?
They
like,
can.
There are like Vane says in his speech, is like they are the few, we are the many. Like it's such like a I don't know. It makes them feel so powerful, even though they aren't. But yeah, cool, great speech, convinces me.
It's such a, because this is another thing of the wider thing of like maybe Woodes Rogers is why. And maybe civilization should come back in there. If civilization was there's probably no raping Max in the street. All the soldiers are like more polite than the pirates. Everything would probably be cleaner. They talk about that. Jack comes back and all the streets are swept, and he's like fucking shocked. And it's like, I guess civilization does have its upsides. There's like trials and things like this. This is like, oh, maybe this is good. And you're like the slavery thing is like, well, now it's inexcusable. We got to kill them all. It's like it's such a good note to hit back on of like to justify everything Flint does of like, yeah, we got to free all the fucking slaves. Slavery is an awful thing. And it's like, man. And also in that speech, he's basically like, England will come here one day. They will find this place, and like, you'll either sit in fear forever or like fight and win and never be afraid again or whatever. And it's like, oh, what a speech. Oh, and that with the little like the subplot of like the knife where he might threaten the queen if it doesn't work, but then they find the knife still in the cage after he's left.
It
and
builds
like, oh,
so much like engagement into like what's he gonna say. Like I want to hear his every word now that he's like so resolute on he's gonna do it.
And the directing and the lighting in that scene of like it's almost entirely in darkness, even though even the side of his face that is facing the camera, so good. I almost want to look it up and just look at the lines, but I couldn't find it if I wanted to try.
Yep,
it's just so good.
Amen.
What a speech!
All right, so there's a lot of Flint stuff. The only other thing I've really written for him is that just in the final episode, how he tells Silver his entire backstory, which was interesting. And I guess like we've briefly talked about it, but that whole scene is very interesting because it puts Flint in a very new dynamic where there's someone who has, I guess, transcended him in a way. It's really interesting to have someone that he is completely, it's someone who is completely open with now, but I don't know, he's not gonna give in to him the same way. It's interesting, and they do bring it up as like an actual two characters talking. Good stuff.
There's an interesting dynamic here of Silver has said this, like, and I think Billy has also talked about this, where it's like, oh, everybody that gets close to him and becomes a partner to him ends up dead, and Silver's sort of always been fearful of this. And then it's sort of a switch in that last episode of like Silver's the kind of the belief now that he will be the end of Flint in like the reverse of it. There's also so much going on there with Silver's character, like his philosophy about how Flint is sort of just feared by the men, but he is loved and feared at the same time. So they want his approval. So they will do like suicidal things to try and get his approval, just to know that they're in his good graces, just for like his respect. But that's more Silver stuff.
Yeah.
I guess the next section? If I should, but way before we get to that, hold your horses, Mr. Ari. I think this is probably. Oh, I have some notes here too. Oh, this is probably where I should get into my meta point. But before we do that, I have some Barlow points in my notes.
Oh, okay.
This is probably the only place to bring that up. In one of those scenes, I love the one where they're rowing down the river. That's spooky. That gives me the Lord of the Rings vibes from that one shot. Wow, crazy. I like it a lot. But anyway, there's because obviously this is a subconscious. I love like the second one. I think it is in episode 2 where we go to all the different locations. Like we see them back in like the Hamilton house, and Miranda's in her like green dress again. And it's just, I don't know. I like the acting and the way like dialogue is delivered in those scenes of sort of being dreamlike and shit like that. It's just so well done. But one point here is Barlow goes through like, I was wife to you when you needed understanding, and I was lover to you or something when you needed something. And then she brings up, and I was mother to you.
Yeah, but above all,
Yes. And I always, I don't know, I find that a little weird because I remember remembering when Barlow would talk about Abigail before she met her, of like her being like not motherly at all. That was like a characterizing thing that I had in my brain of her, of like, she was sort of like, yeah, kids, gross, because she never had kids or whatever.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a result of Thomas being gay, most likely. But yeah, I nearly did a House of the Dragon reference that would have been a spoiler. Can you believe it, Elite Ari? I was gonna say like that thing in no, that's the next episode. You stupid fuck.
Oh boy.
By the time the people see this, they'll know what I was about to reference in episode 6.
Yep.
And Ari, you know in a few days. Shut up! No more Hot Dragon. Hot Dragon? Hot D.
Hot D.
Hot Dragon, I guess, is
all right.
That's the acronym. Barlow, mothering. Barlow. I didn't get it at all, mothering. And I was like, not that I don't get the scene at all. It was just weird. I was like, And
did you never feel that she was like a mother to Flint?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, there's a thing. Sopranos does this a lot, where it's like, oh, the woman you desire is a lot like your mother, basically. Oh, Mad Men even has it, like in the first episode, they have a scene where it's like, when Joan, sort of the queen of the secretaries, is telling Peggy, the new girl, how to be a secretary, and she's like, oh, really what they want is like a sexy thing that is basically a mother to them. Is like these men. What an idiot. All they want is all they need is mothering. Without mothers, and they'll look for mothers everywhere, otherwise they're useless or something. So it was sort of there's like, I think that's a Freud thing or something, some philosophy thing that they're
Psychology.
referencing. Yeah, psychology. Isn't Freud also? No, yes, Freud is psychology, huh?
Mm.
Yeah, but that's like a thing shows hit on. I don't know. It was just, it's a little, I don't want to say it's off, like, oh, the show made an error here, but it was interesting more so in how that was not my view of things. Did you think anything of this
I thought it worked very
when
well
you initially?
in that I'd never considered her as like a motherly figure to him at all. But as like a reframing of everything that's come before, I think it kind of fits very well, where it's kind of like she has been keeping him sane this whole time. Like she has been looking after him basically, and
A warmth,
yeah, like a constant presence that's always going to be there for him. Like it kind of feels like I can definitely, I feel more like it's everything is being reframed as that when I think back to it. So I think it works for me pretty well. But they have
Yeah, that
sex
was just
in season
that is
1.
true. And season 2. But
Yeah, true.
oh, there was no real conclusion to that. That was just one
Yes,
of
yes.
the various things I jotted down. Did I have another Barlow point here? Being in Miranda's house again is sick. I got the chills. That was cool.
Yeah, yeah.
That's at the beginning of episode 8 when like Anne and Flint and Vane are all hanging out in the house.
All talking about their motivations.
Yeah, that was interesting. I don't know. I don't know if that's specifically a Flint thing where that was just another cool Flint line where Vane's like, I don't understand why I would understand like a woman's want for domesticity.
Yeah.
What a cool word. But I wouldn't understand yours or whatever. And then Flint turns around and says, I don't understand how you wouldn't understand. What a line.
Yep.
It's like the Django Unchained line. Like, what the fuck is the line specifically? I'm curious what makes you so curious. So cool.
Wow.
It's a trailer line, all right, Ari? You should at least be familiar with it.
No, I don't watch trailers.
Yeah. Shut up, Sook. But yeah, I think that's the only other Miranda point I've got there. But yes. Are we wrapping up Flint already? My goodness.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I feel like everything else is just like, God, what acting. We didn't talk about the beach scene. I feel like that's more of a conflict that we should talk about, how like Rogers sort of represents him and Thomas's idea, like their initial idea with England, but Flint's basically changed to understand that England cannot be part of the solution because England is broken, which kind of hits on everything we've been talking about with civilization being bad and all the minorities have to stand together, like that one video that I don't think you've watched yet. That is the only other Black Sails video on the internet. That video hits on that a lot, but yeah. Because I really didn't think about that the first time through, and ever since I've seen that video, I've recontextualized it in my head for that to sort of like be the absolute truth about the series, and going back and watching it has not deterred me. So, fuck the establishment and these white straight males running everything. We gotta kill England. I like. This is sort of connected to this, but I like that they bring up Thomas all the time. I like that they're still bringing up Gates all the time. I like that a lot of time obviously is spent on Miranda. It's like, oh, the characters, the weight of these characters, and they're the ghosts that haunt the cast of Black Sails. Did you get that reference, Ari?
Yes. It took me a while. Yes.
What was the reference?
To your video, yeah. About Attack on Titan.
Okay. Yeah. Patreon original video that's now uploaded on the channel. What a great reference. But yes, I like that they stick around.
Well, I guess it all ties
really
into the thing they talk about or Jack brings up about how the Urca Gold, like all the sacrifices we've made and all the people we've lost, they've all been added to its contents.
Yes, that becomes a thing towards the end. And that was another thing I didn't remember. And when they were talking about it, I'm like, oh yeah. And I remember because the Urca Gold, like that chest is like still the MacGuffin in the very last episode, which is crazy stuff. The Urca Gold, the Urca Delima, they're still talking about it. Can you believe it?
Yep. Treasure.
Did all the other gold go back to Spain?
I guess.
Because they never say. They're like, Jack's supposed to go on that ship, but then Jack never makes it to the ship. But did they still go even though the governor never arrived?
I don't remember. I
assume they probably would have, or they're just still there, and maybe.
I figure they would have sent it. Like it'd be a bit. Maybe they already sent it or something.
Maybe when he wakes up in the last episode.
Yeah, maybe.
Or
Yeah.
if you send in Jack to get on the ship, you wouldn't have sent it then, but
Yeah, I guess
afterwards.
that's
But he's
true.
injured after that is sort of my point.
Yeah, and he has the flu. Crazy.
Or maybe he has the
Yeah,
flu.
he does.
Yeah,
He does.
maybe.
um.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's not even a Flint question, but that was just something I was thinking about. Captain Flint. Him and Vane's friendship now is so cute.
Yeah.
Maybe we would talk about that in the Vane section, but it's interesting. Sort of the tale of like, because it's like being like a 3-month time skip, even though Ari tried to tell me it was only a few week time skip.
Yes.
What a liar.
Hey, how do we
Um,
know it's a few months? Right? They never outright say it.
they specifically say like Jack's like for the last few months I've been trying to get this fort built and nobody is doing nothing, so it's been at least a few months.
All right.
But yes, the Vane, because this is before Flint shows back up, but Vane and Jack reflecting on the moment when Flint got back and how mad he was at Jack initially, and Silver sort of saying that like nobody ever found out Silver was a part of it, and sort of that initial scene we never actually see but only hear about of
Yeah.
Flint returning after the events of season 2 with Vane, and like the standoff they must have had. How interesting, how wacky, but yes. Maybe that is all I can say about Mr. Flint. The Metatext
Yes,
stuff.
the
I didn't
meta.
even bring it up yet. Can you believe it? This is not that well thought out. It is the biggest note, but it's like a spattering of notes.
Yep.
Now, we're talking specifically, though I think there are connections throughout the entire season and throughout the entire show, because even the last scene is all about Jack saying the art will make the mark or whatever, and he sort of talked about that last season. And sort of the art is the show you're watching, Lamau. What staying power will it have? And obviously in the show, they're always talking about like stories and things like that and how to sell a story to a crew or whatever and all these little details you can add in or whatever. And even the Scott and Billy thing where they're in last season where they're talking about Silver's fake story about being in Charlestown and laughing about all these different things that he's taken from other stories, like how Black Sails is probably taking things from a bunch of things and all works of art and big stories do that. That can even be read in a meta sense. That's sort of the shit I'm getting into here.
Yeah.
But every Flint and Silver scene in the last episode, I always, like, nearly everything doubled as some meta text shit. So I guess I'll just read my note here.
Yeah.
Flint and Silver conversation that has strokes of meta or self-analysis or even self-analysis in it. Which is interesting because a lot of the times the characters will be like, no, this is why that character did that. And it's sort of like a funny self-analysis. People make fun of Ava for basically video essaying itself in its last 2 episodes, where like the Ava creators make a video essay about Ava explaining Ava in those last 2 episodes. It's cute. So it's sort of a little thing about that. Though in this sense, in the Ava sense, it really doesn't work on both. It's really just a meta thing. In the show, obviously, it works as like, oh, they're talking as if they're describing real people's motivations, but it doubles as a character thing. So it works on the 2 levels. And it never becomes directly meta like a more artsy film would or whatever. Chainsaw Man is a lot more directly meta in it. It's just an example of something. But on this, the show has a bunch of other self-analysis / meta shit too, which is stuff I already talked about. Silver in this scene says that the storm was a representation or a manifesting of the dark crowd that Flint must endure because of Barlow's death. And then he says like the famine. They have a word for when they're baroqued or something. What's this word? Marooned? No,
I have
that's
no
the
idea.
slaves thing. When they're like stuck in the water and it's not moving, they have a
Stilled or
specific
something?
word. No,
Becalmed?
it
No?
wasn't. Becalmed, that's the
Okay.
word. I knew it started with B. But they basically say, well, we were becalmed. That was a representation of your despair. And sort of explaining the stages of Flint's character. But he also has a line that he references in that scene that he said earlier about how Flint can like manifest. And people talk about this because Eleanor and Flint are very parallel characters throughout the entire show. I thought it kind of ended in episode 2, but I think Vane and Max talk about Eleanor this way, where they're like, of course, her grasp on this on this island would like somehow she's back. How did this happen? She literally got taken away by the Navy to be arrested and executed, and now she's back running shit at the governor's side. Like she manifested this through because she is, like she can do that. The line I'm trying to remember the silver line specifically that he says about Flint that could also apply to Eleanor, but he's like basically like Flint. Oh, this is like a line from season 2 where Flint is like, oh, Silver says about Flint where he says, oh, did he reach across like the ocean to make sure the gold was still there or something. There's basically this theme of Flint manifesting things and being able to control things supernaturally, and like he is present always and sort of this demigod figure or whatever. And it's sort of just like jerking off Flint's like endurance or ambition or whatever that he will make things happen. Yeah. But in reflecting on that sort of stuff, he says that like the storm, like things representing Flint, like manifest over things. Like the storm was the dark cloud, and being becalmed was of his despair. And this was all after losing Mrs. Barlow. But obviously, on a meta level, this is like obviously that is what was happening. The storm is a metaphor for Flint's internal conflict, and it reflects it in things like this. What a fucking go around to get to this point, huh?
No, that's
I even have the line here. I should have just
beautiful.
Your demons are part of our reality, so is the influence you wield. And then I wrote in big text, I said, because he's the main character, you see.
Genius.
Like every other character has to deal with his shit because he's the main character and like the central focus of the story. So it doubles as that of like, oh, your demons and your conflicts will manifest as tests for you by the narrative that we will also have to endure as like side characters in this fucking monolith of a story. That's the end of the note.
I love it.
Any questions? No, that's because really I didn't make sense at all.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I think like how it's just so much. Firstly, like I'd never really considered how just the meta aspect of the storm and like the becalmed thing. I just never thought of it. I'm like, yeah, obviously, Silver.
I literally told you. What are you talking about?
No, like I mean, Silver.
I didn't consider it all until this watch. So
yeah. Well done, Kyle. Yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah, meta stuff, crazy. I didn't cross my mind at all. I was confused a little bit about like why Silver is so adamant about bringing this up, but that works really well.
Yeah,
I like that.
It's also like all of that doubles as Silver saying like, "Oh, I'm becoming like this too. Like I'm gonna be a big dick player too. So you better watch out for my manifesting." There's also like, oh, I had a point, but it flew away. I looked down at my phone. No. I got a YouTube notification. I read the title, and now I'm staring at my water bottle, hoping that it'll come back. But it's not coming back. It's gone.
Meta, Flint, Silver is becoming Flint.
Is manifesting term. And obviously, the end of the final episode is Billy choosing Silver to be the big then. I also thought it's hot in here and I should take off my jacket. So that's where my thoughts are right now.
So should we move on to Silver?
Why do we have to give up Flint so soon?
Oh, don't worry, he'll come up in all these sections, I'm sure.
Yes, he always comes up. He manifests himself into everybody else's story. Didn't you just hear?
Yes, true. He is
I'm
the
now
main
looking
character.
At my note. It just says bad English, and I thought it said books, but it says boobs. Can you believe these dresses? I think I talked about this last time. Actually,
yeah, I even paid attention
Eleanor
to it this time. It looked
fucking
absolutely not.
Ugh.
But she looked the best she has ever looked in this season.
My
goodness. Yep, I even made a note on it. I was like, wow, Eleanor looks so good in this green. She was wearing like a green dress or something. I was like, man, this looks great.
No shot. She looks. I'm always like, ugh, get her out of those clothes.
That's so funny. I had the complete opposite. I'd never really thought of anything before. Oh my goodness.
But I hate the boob outfits. I hate how it presses the boobs. It's just not good.
I don't know. I like it.
And I'm not even just talking about Eleanor. Yeah. I particularly hate it on the old Madame girl that comes back. Have we talked about her at all?
No, but I like her aesthetic. She has a cool like look to her, you know?
Yeah, it's just the boobs. Even Max is like the hottest girl in the entire fucking planet.
Yeah.
And even I'm like, I don't even want to look at her cleavage.
Oh my
like,
goodness.
Look at these dumb English dresses and they're bad boobs. No, they're bad cleavage.
I think I just disagree on this somehow. It's crazy.
God, Eleanor looks so bad. Put her out in the
No, she looks so good. I can't believe it. But she's, you know who looks the best this season?
We are having in the comments, pledge your allegiance.
Yes.
Season 1 to 2 Eleanor or season 3 and 4 Eleanor. And if you say 3 or 4, I'm banning you on my channel.
Yes, but you'll be promoted. You'll become like a moderator of my chat. It'll be great.
Yeah. No more Elite RE, no more Kyle Entertainment content for Elite RE after this opinion. He's gone too far.
Anyway, yeah, I'll make it the thumbnail of this video. Okay, so, Silver. Are you ready? Anything else? Okay, so, Silver, this season, I've summarized what he is dealing with, because he has a lot to deal with. He is dealing with a bad leg and wanting to look strong.
Yucky.
He is dealing with surviving Flint's darkness. and at the same time, he is also dealing with wanting to do right for his brothers. So he's got a lot of
He
stuff
really
going
loves
on.
these dumb fucking pirates, huh? Let's talk about Silver, huh? Remember how I was always like, Silver, man, what a great character for the first two
Yeah, and then you hate
seasons.
him.
And what a shitty character. What a dumb beard he has. Oh
Yes.
my goodness. Beard's still dumb.
Really interesting.
He's
You know what? I
alright,
think
you
he
know. I
looks
feel like
like Blackbeard a lot, which was interesting. Like they have a similar kind of. They're
it was
pretty
interesting
big
that they weren't.
presence. Like,
The only scene they have is in the last episode. The last
oh
episode,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I don't think they ever have a scene together,
No, I guess not.
like where they talk. Because Blackbeard dies early in this fucking next thing. This Blackbeard prick don't do nothing. What a boring character. Bring back Mrs. Barlow.
Oh my goodness.
We'll get to Blackbeard. But yeah, Silver. I don't know. I do feel like, oh, I don't like him as much anymore.
Yeah, well, okay, I was gonna say with the whole the first thing I brought up about his bad leg and wanting to look strong, I thought that was pretty weak. Like I didn't find it that interesting, and I didn't understand why so much time was spent on it because it felt like a pretty straightforward thing to understand, I guess. Because I'm like, yeah, you don't want to look weak for your men, I get it. You want to challenge Flint, but they spent a lot of time on it. I think.
It's like a stubborn thing. I think it is a way for like them to parallel him and Maddie. Now obviously I'm a romance simp, so the best Silver stuff is obviously the Maddie stuff. That when she grabs his hand, my goodness, my heart. Then after the Scott dies and they hug, my goodness.
Yeah.
I remember how they reveal that they're sleeping together in the first episode, and then very next episode we're gonna watch in the first episode of season 4. What a time to be alive!
Crazy.
We'll get to that. This was another thing where are you supposed to go? I don't remember that at all.
They get together? No, no,
My
I do
goodness,
remember. I do remember. Okay. We're good.
How they reveal it next season is cool. Anyway.
All right.
Cut on the leg. I think all of that was like because I don't think I ever got the parallel between them until this time, or it's just something I didn't remember. I was like, oh yeah, they get together, but like they're both like the next leaders who are coming up. And by like episode 10, they are both basically made the leaders. Because Silver is at the pirate. He's made the Pirate King by Billy, and there's the scene that Maddie has with her mother. When they're hiding like beneath, and then she goes out to stand with Silver and things like that, and she's like, oh, basically I just took control. So yeah, so I think that's how that works. But yeah, like I think it's him wanting to pull his weight. It's just sort of like the exact opposite of him in season 1, which I think is more so the point. But
yeah, so I guess one thing about what you said, which is like how you've got Silver and Muddy being the two like next leaders, right? Now, my one point that I actually have on that is that I felt like it was a bit too abstract of a like parallel, because obviously we get so much time spent with these two characters in this location, right? And it's very like distant from the rest of the story, and anything would have up to this point. And throughout the whole season, I was just thinking like, why are we spending so much time on this? And then I like toward the end, I had this revelation like you had, which is like, oh yeah, this is why they're being paralleled because they're the next leaders. And I don't know, it just feels like it's such like a subtle thing to dedicate so much time to. But I don't know. Yeah.
There were multiple times, and I think it was most because I've talked about this in the past 2 videos we've done where I was like, I had to pause it and figure out what the fuck the motivations were, and you're like, why is he doing this? I think the most I had it in this season was that one scene with Maddie and Silver where he basically, his leg is all fucked up, and he's like, oh, and they like try to give him like opium, and then they try to give him something to bite down, and he's like, just do it or something. It is the scene where they like hold hands for the first time.
Yep.
How cute. But I remember being like, she's like, I know this fear. And I was like, what's the fear? And I guess the fear was becoming the next leader or something, or being responsible for men, or having like the lives of I felt this a little bit too, even in those Silver and Flint scenes at the end of the season where they're sort of too openly talking thematically about power, or it was like, oh, you're new to having power or something, and this is how it works. And I was like, this is a little abstract. I think the show does get more abstract even going into season 4 with sort of the ideas like this and how men are. There's often like in this show, like, and men will do this because of this, and then it'll show, and then Vane will be like, no, they actually do this, and then it'll show them actually following Vane's thing, and it's like a cool, I don't know, it's always like oh, well, people do this because the narrative is about to show us them doing this, and like it's sort of up to us to accept it or buy it. It was never to the point where I was like, nah, this is dumb. I don't buy it at all.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
but
that's
there
the
was a little bit
distinction.
more abstraction.
Yeah, where for me it's like I know that the show is smart and I know there's a purpose for everything they're doing, but there's a lot of times where I just can't figure it out, and it makes me instead of enjoying it, it's just me trying to think of like why is this actually good if I can't piece it together by watching it, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know, it all comes together in the end, I think.
Yeah, I definitely felt that in bits too. But yeah.
All right.
Silver. What are we up to? What?
Yeah, so that was the first note here was just about all the stuff he's dealing with. So bad leg,
him trying to
surviving.
get out.
Yep. The next point about not Flint, Jesus, Silver, is that he, I guess the turning point for him this season is he starts to feel, to me at least, like Flint's equal after the shark incident. Like before there, it still seems like he's
Hold on,
really like vowing. Yeah.
Can we talk about one thing before this?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Are your notes chronological? The little bald man. You were like, oh, I don't remember that.
Yes.
Last. But you got to remember the little bald man who drowns.
Terrible.
How sad.
Yeah.
But that's
terrifying.
That's like the indication that Silver is like in with the group, because he's like very, very mad, very distressed. He's screaming, he's bashing things when the little bald man dies. You're like, man,
slowly
this idiot actually does
to
care
death.
about these pirates.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because in the first episode, he's like fighting with Flint because he's like, you should not lead the vanguard or whatever. And it's like, shut up, Silver. And then it's like shown, oh, he is like this.
Yep.
And it is funny because it is like the growth of Silver. Like, remember how he was at the beginning, just trying to sell him out and fuck him over and everything, and now he loves them.
Yeah. He does have a crazy like arc. How much has changed?
Yeah.
And they even point that out, like with the money, and it's like, oh yeah, they trust you above any of us, not to betray for money.
Yeah,
like,
and that's funny. Yeah, because
yeah.
Jack is the one he sold the thing to. It's funny because Dufresne comes out and he's like, we shouldn't, like, you weren't even worth half the attention we paid you or whatever, and he's like the last holdout because he remembers him from that time, and that sort of shows his change too. There was another point I was going to bring up, but I had another thing I forgot. It was going to be very poignant about Silver's growth or something. But let's just pretend I said it. Wow, what a great point.
Yeah, wow, all right. Never thought about that.
Yes, little bald man. I interrupted your point to bring that up because I thought you were going ahead.
Nope. I mean, I guess, yeah, technically. they fight a shark. And after that shark, they are on the same side, and they feel like equals.
It's such a good release, the shark killing.
Oh, yeah.
And like, oh, they have food. You just feel it. You're like, man, starving sucks. Get some food.
Yep. We'll get some water.
Everyone's been on a long drive and you're nearly home. You're going to get that drink of water, and then you get there and you finally drink it. And it's like, oh, I killed the shark.
Now imagine if the drive is like for weeks long at a time, and
yeah.
It's in the ocean. There's hot temperature. You can't go anywhere. And actually, what's interesting is the fact that they're all outside, right? You'd figure they'd like go in the little room or something, just like Flint's little room.
Yeah, they all go and sit in the sun.
Very smart.
Probably easier. Probably the ship is on a big set and the interior is on a small set, and only certain important characters like Flint and Billy are over on the small set inside. Yeah, maybe,
or Flint's manipulating.
Yeah, making them all sit outside. Yeah.
Yep. So next up with Silver, he kills Dufresne. It's a big jump here from the end of there.
Stomps on him.
Wait, what? What'd you say?
He stomps on him.
Oh, he stomps. I think he said that's funny. And I'm like, what?
It was funny. Not the Groot. Not the Groot. We like the Groot here. Dufresne.
Yes, Dufresne. Yeah, he steps on him. It's just that straightforward. I guess, like, to me, it's...
He says it. He says, Long John Silver, kind of. He says, and I've got a long fucking memory.
Yeah.
Max is actually the first one that says it at the end.
Yes.
But that's the thing from Treasure Island. That's the famous pirate name. Haha.
Yes.
So it's a point and go, haha.
Yep.
It's like when Bran's going to show up in the Dragon episode 10, you're going to go, oh, that's the thing.
Who? Bran? Oh, yes, House of the Dragon. Okay. Genius.
Yeah.
Dufresne. Yeah, he died. Okay, now the reason I bring, one of the reasons I bring this up is that, firstly, it's great. And I remember this sticking out to me the first time I watched it. It's like, wow, I can't believe that just happened. But what I got more this time when I was watching it was also that. I had the same, like, reaction. And I did remember this, obviously. Very big moment for me to remember. But it felt like it happened a lot quicker than I remembered. And I guess that's happened a few times with this season. So I guess I can talk about it more generally. But, like, this scene particularly... and also a lot of the slave stuff that was like on the former slave island. In my mind, I had the impression that they were like kept there in like in that little cage for like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 episodes. Like the majority of the season, I felt like they were there. But
I
no,
thought
they
the
they
same
got
thing.
out in like 2 episodes basically. But yeah, similar to this
Yeah.
Dufresne thing where I'm like, man, this happened a lot quicker in Silver's like arc than I remember. But anyway, yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the scene specifically as like shorter than you remember, but you're talking about like
No,
Silver's journey.
yeah, in Silver's
being,
journey, it happened a lot quicker than I remembered. The scene was pretty. It felt pretty similar to me, I think, from what I remembered.
yeah,
Oh, you thought he was shorter?
a little bit, but firstly, I wrote down, "This is the place where cowards go to beg forgiveness from a king." What an opening line. So good. That's like a Flint speech. Silver is still very good. Like the actor is still very good at delivering like the great lines.
Yep.
Um,
Hey, and I've been listening to him, like carefully listening, and I can't hear an Australian accent. I know the first time you said like, "Oh, he has an Australian accent," I can't hear it. Like to me, it just sounds like
I remember
a
thinking it
British
like the first time I saw the character and the first time I watched the first episode, I was like,
right.
hang on, Australia doesn't exist yet. And then I thought that was funny.
Yep.
It's funny because I kind of hear it with Millie Alcock with young Rhaenyra now. I'm sort of like sometimes there was somebody else in House of the Dragon where I was like, that's an Australian accent. But the first, like, I had no idea that Millie Alcock was from Sydney the first time I watched the pilot, and then I learnt more about her in the week until the next episode, I guess.
Yep.
But with Silver, I remember it being immediate. I'm like, look at this fucking pretty boy. He's from Australia. Great.
Yep.
And also earlier I talked about like, oh, there's nothing in this season that you like, oh, I don't want to watch, like Max's rape or Blackbeard getting thrown under the ship or whatever. I guess the Dufresne moment could have been something like that, and I remember being like, oh,
No.
I remember thinking it was much more gruesome.
I remember looking forward to it. I was like, hell yeah, when do we get to the Dufresne thing? I want to see it.
I'm thinking more the gore than who it's done to, but yeah, it didn't really do anything. I wasn't too scared. There was something else like that, and I'm trying to remember if it was Black Sails in this season, where I was like, or if it was something else I was watching.
Well, all right, before we forget, I want to bring up for this scene, I guess the more than the gruesomeness of it, I think just the like him stepping on it and him hurting his leg from doing it. That's what like stuck with me. Like the thing like digging into his like end of his leg, and I'm like, man, I don't like that. But yeah.
Yeah,
So,
they even have a moment on the ship later where Flint asks him how he's doing, whatever. He's like, man, I fucked up my leg doing this shit. This shit's crazy. But yes, pirate with a peg leg. What a wacky bloke. It's metal. How scary.
Yeah.
But yes, it's a great scene. Everything about the speech, I think, is more impressive than like the Dufresne moment. But yeah, I don't remember any other lines besides "This is the place cowards go to beg forgiveness from a king."
Yep.
What a line. And he says, "Flint is still alive," and everyone in the bar, they're all doing that.
Yep.
It's fucking sick.
Picks up the book. Wild.
Indeed.
All right. So next silver point here is that he punishes the one crewmate who beat up the former slave guy. And then Flint accuses him of doing this because of the dark voice in his head. So I guess the idea is that it's the voice in Silver's head, or Flint's head as well, or anyone's head. This darkness is a lie you tell yourself to convince yourself to do something, but you don't actually know that it's a lie in a way.
Yeah, this is another one of those kind of abstract, kind of confusing monologues, huh?
Yeah.
Like, because when people say like the darkness inside, it's like, oh, people can do bad things, and sometimes you have bad thoughts, but it's not just that. It's like another step in explaining that.
Yeah.
They also talk about it in relation to power and being in control of men and stuff like that. But I wonder if Silver later disagrees with this in the final episode where he's saying like, no, that wasn't really entirely it, because it's not just fear but love that they have for me or whatever. Which I guess we will talk about that because this is the Silver section. But yeah, I was a little confused there, but I think I got it.
Yep. All right. Well.
Is that all the Silver stuff you got?
No, for Silver, we still got, maybe we already talked about this. So we definitely talked about this. So he has the theory of Flint's state of mind becoming reality. I think we've talked about that enough already. It's a nice meta thing. I like it. I like it more than when I wrote this note.
I got a Silver point too here, where it's one of the first notes I took, which was that Silver has replaced Randall. He's the new Randall, and I never thought about that. But he had to look after Randall because the crew liked Randall, and they weren't just going to kick him out when he lost his leg.
Oh, yeah.
Now Silver's lost his leg, and now they have to look after him, but he's like determined to not be like Randall almost, because that's why he wants to pull his weight and stuff. I don't think that's particularly ties into the him not wanting to look weak. I think it's just him not wanting to be a burden on the crew or whatever. That was just something I never
God
thought
damn
about.
Randall. If
Shout out to
like if
Randall.
Silver was having like the Flint dreams with Miranda, like I think Randall should be in his dreams. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True love.
Yes. All right. So the next point I'll read out because I don't remember it. I wrote to the crew. Oh, okay. So from the crew's perspective, and I guess like disregarding Billy, but like just looking at the crew in general, it really seems like throughout this entire season, you have Flint and Silver on the same side throughout the entire season. Like they're all agreeing. There's never a moment where they like disagree in front of the crew publicly or anything, which is interesting.
At the beginning, they are disagreeing a lot, but it's all privately. But yeah,
yeah, it's like Silver will keep up appearances that they're all like a big united thing, but then they'll go and disagree in private. But there's no like confrontation scene where it's like, you know what, Flint, you've gone too far. We're gonna do this, and he doesn't like try and take power from Flint in any situation.
Like the Dufresne scene from season 1, the good Dufresne.
Yes. Yeah, good old Dufresne when he was a character. So yeah, and I guess this idea gets brought up a few times throughout the season, where it's like when these two are on the same side, they can convince anyone to do anything, or I guess any of the crew to do anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, were you gonna say something?
Yeah.
Oh, you're just yawning?
No, I just said yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, before that, I said yeah.
Yes, good.
I was
good.
agreeing.
Thank God you agreed with the genius point I made. All right. The last Silver point is about how in the finale he challenges Flint. So I guess anything we want to talk about in that final, just him.
Oh yeah, because they have the thing across the river where it's like Flint and Maddie on one side, and then did I say Flint and Maddie?
Oh yeah,
Silver and Maddie on one side and Flint on the other.
Yeah,
it's
So they're being set up as like antagonists in a way.
And that kind of what happens in season 4. Though Rogers is always around, so it's not like that just them left to their own devices. Because in Treasure, because this I guess is kind of a necessary part of the show, because in Treasure Island, right, Flint dies at the beginning, or is already dead at the beginning, and they're looking for Flint's treasure, and Silver used to know him, but Silver's the bad guy in that. I forget what the protagonist's name is, but like, so it kind of a mission statement for the show kind of has to be that these characters are going to be in conflict at some point. I wonder if they ever regret, like, this was stupid to tie this into this dumb like kids novel.
That it is weird, isn't it? Like the show works perfectly without having to tie in anything.
Yeah, Billy Bones has to be like completely like alone at the end and like washes up on some beach as like a loser, and it's like, I don't know if that's our Billy, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because obviously if you like, as the season is being made, and if you were watching this live as it came out, which I don't think either one of us did, or did you watch it?
No, definitely not.
Yeah, so you could be like, oh, next season it's gonna be Flint versus Silver, bro. They're setting it up. That's cool, and you could speculate about that for a year while you wait for the next season to come out. And it does kind of happen, so you wouldn't be disappointed in the end. But yeah. I guess the whole point of how that conflict is resolved in season 4 is sort of Silver rejecting that they are ever going to fight too directly. I will stay with you for weeks, for seconds, or whatever. You remember that speech?
I vaguely remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good line, right? Silver will stay with him for months if it takes for him to calm down, and so they don't have to fight. My goodness. So yeah, that's all set up for that. So I guess that's good. Fun times.
Very good.
Is that it for Silver?
That's Silver. So next up is the Island of Slaves, or I guess technically the Island of Former Slaves, because there are no longer slaves there. And I have a few points that we've already talked about, so I'll skip over them. I guess my first interesting point here is the fact that the slaves are, I guess they're not slaves anymore, they're former slaves. They are doing the same thing to the people, like Flint, as was done to them, basically. Like, they're enslaving these like pirates, and they're putting them to work, right?
It's a revenge thing.
Yeah, it's bad. They shouldn't do that, you shouldn't become the thing that you hate. But
revenge is bad? Is that what you're telling me? Because I don't believe
certain game taught me that, or it's anyway, so
oh yeah?
Yeah, so that's...
What about villain side?
No, Vinland. It's not done yet. We don't know the thematic resolution of Vinland Saga
That's
yet.
true.
Anyway, so yeah, you
But that's
agree
not
it was
the
terrible,
Metacritic
right?
for that game.
Isn't it?
Continue.
All right, we'll talk. We'll
No,
talk
that's
about
like
that one
me
day.
that
We'll,
people make fun of it for, Ari.
yeah,
Can you
dumb
believe this?
people.
We're not
You shouldn't
about-
make fun of it because it's not. It's a very poignant point. But we'll talk about that one day. So
Points a little
my
reiterated.
next point is about Scott and Flint, which they at one point they bring up that I don't remember if maybe they say this directly, and I'm just pointing out something really obvious, but Scott they bring up is like a person who's lived two different lives, and Flint is just like that, crazy, isn't it? Flint has lived two different lives.
I did get that. And I never thought about that before until I was watching that scene again, and I was like, how can, like, I think Flint might ask Scott, like, how can it that one man, the man I knew, and you are completely different people or something? It's like, haha,
The
identity,
irony.
yes.
Yep. So that's that.
It's also, the Scott stuff is interesting because I guess this is where we're going to talk about him, right? We're not going to talk about him elsewhere.
Never, no other thing. Yeah.
Because Scott is in the first episode, and then it's like, oh, Scott's going to help build the fort. And then he seems like really gross towards the slave. He's like, I'll go and round up the slaves. I'll get him to work. They'll know me. And then later he's like, oh, some of the slaves escaped. And he's like, oh, I'll go and round them up and find them for you. And it's like, man, he's like a turncloak. He's like selling out his own people. That's disgusting. But actually, he was rounding them up to send them to the island to save them all. It's like, what a good
guy.
bloke this man. And Silver also has like the line of like, because there's that scene right before the fire scene in season 2 where he's like, how many people know that you actually ran this whole shit the whole time between two different Guthries it was you the whole time. What a smart bloke you are. Like putting him over and you're like, yeah, Mr. Scott knows how to run shit. What a man.
Yep.
And then he reiterates in that scene where it's like, oh, you're actually doing that for two different like places, two different settlements. What the fuck? That's crazy. And he has daughters on both. It's like a complete parallel.
No, only one daughter.
And he does say that only you. He says that to Maddie, that she's his only daughter.
Yes.
How
did that make you feel?
I was like, yeah, you're lying. We're going to parallel the next season too, that they're sisters and stuff. Oh, and that Maddie scene when she's in the thing and she's like, I've been here before. I have this sense that I've been here before, but I don't remember it. That was fucking sick. I like that scene a lot. Obviously, we're getting the Maddie Eleanor parallels much more next season, and it's cool.
Interesting.
Other than that, there was something else I wanted to say about Mr. Scott, but believe it or not, I've forgotten it. I was talking like the one commander dude. Did you catch that? My temperament just
not
now?
at all.
And how I was saying words. That one annoying dude he was always talking down to Max and Eleanor.
Oh yeah, I remember him. I have a note about him. We'll get to him in the miscellaneous section.
The way he talks is so funny.
Yeah.
What a dumb.
Okay, so I have a question. I guess. From my first time watching the show, I remember that there was some evil guy who like basically enabled all of Rogers' bad. Okay, so it's not him. We see him next season, right? Okay, because I remember him in my head. I'm like, this guy does not look like that guy. But maybe my memory is so wrong.
Even then,
yeah.
Even then, when I said that, I was like, the one dude that's always annoying Max and Eleanor. I'm like, no, that dude. There's another dude like that. And I was remembering him.
Yeah, boy, do I remember him. Yeah.
He'll get those Israel hands, if you know what I mean.
Genius. All right. All right. Well, were we talking about something? Because I have one more point on the slave thing, but I don't remember if we were talking about
We were talking about Mr. Scott living two lives.
Oh, yes,
identity.
Mr. Legend. That's what we should call him. He's
it's such a cool moment when he shows up and Flint like comes forward and sees him. He's like, "What the fuck?
Yeah.
He's the king." Oh, I remember my first time watching, and I figured it out right before they revealed it that he was going to be because they have the scene, your father from Nassau, and he's like, "Oh, it's going to be Mr. Scott." Crazy stuff.
Look at you! I predicted it this time. I was like, because when they went to I did not remember that Mr. Scott was the king. I probably realized it like at a similar time you did the first time. But I had all the help of actually having known the answer, but forgetting. But yeah, all right, Mr. Scott, what a bloke! He dies, crazy.
He dies,
and they give a funeral at a very bad time. They should have been planning their. I guess they won in the end, so it doesn't matter. But anyway,
it is. Because something I didn't remember that he stayed with the crew all the way up to Charleston. I think I mentioned that last time. So it it is sort of like when he dies, it is sort of like a mourning thing for everybody there, including the pirates and the former slaves, where it's like, oh, everybody liked Mr. Scott.
Yeah.
So everybody gets to be sad at the funeral. It's like a bonding situation, kind of.
Yep.
But yeah.
All because
Clever,
one guy
clever,
shot him.
Yes,
Some
just
random
this one
soldier.
prick on me. What a fucking idiot. Did you do you think this has any retconning issues? Do you think? Because sometimes I think back to like I remember him laughing in season 1 at the mere idea of Nassau becoming like he laughs at Flint when him and Eleanor are going on one of their imaginary monologues where they're imagining all the things they're gonna. And I'm like, this probably wasn't planned from the beginning. This was probably introduced later, but whatever, it fits. I like it.
No, nothing stands out to me.
I think about that from time to time. Actually, I'm like, does this work? I was like, yeah, I guess it does.
No, they knew it from the beginning.
Yep. Okay.
No, I don't
I'm
know.
down.
I have no idea. All right, but yeah, let's.
I like it. They knew it from the beginning.
They did. Yep. They didn't change the ending like Izayama, but
no, they did not.
Final point on the island of slaves, former slaves. The queen is very smart and capable, and I like her. That's my point. She is saying all the right things. She should not trust Flint. She should not trust anyone, basically, because they are living such a precious life there. Like, and I don't know. I like her a lot. She's great. And you agree, right? Yep.
Going back and forth was fun. I like the
capable leaders. Good stuff. So, unless you have anything else, next up,
on that very quickly. I like there's like a scene between her and Mr. Scott where it's like where basically it's I don't know what the specific context was, but it's like she asks him like, do you trust in me to make this decision or whatever? Because even though he's back, it's like, and he says like, yes, of course I do, or something. It was a very husband-wife moment of like, it's interesting because like most people at the time probably wouldn't like trust their wives to make incredibly important decisions about the future of everything and being literally the leader of a settlement or whatever, but he clearly has that trust in her. And I was like, oh, that's a nice endorsement of her and a nice endorsement of their, not endorsement, but reflection of their relationship. And there's like clearly, it feels very like their relationship in that moment.
Yep, I agree.
Thought that was neat.
That did stand out to me. I do remember that scene. Man, all right. That's it.
That's about the slave colony.
So next up is Rogers. What a character.
What a filler. It's funny that you separated him and Eleanor, because I feel like they're entirely intertwined here. So
I'm sure they are. Yeah. So I guess I'll start off with my notes I've got here.
Intertwined, if you know what I mean.
Oh, absolutely. So my I guess I've separated it because I have a few that are just like, I guess, general things about Rogers alone. So my first thing is that I really like his introductory scene. It's just really cool how like he has that speech about how like when you're famous, people feel like they own parts of you, and he like talks about like the judge and the people and all that. They're gonna be like, I was the one who sentenced Eleanor. I was the one who cheered for her when she died. I thought it's just such a cool it's not philosophy, I guess. It's just a cool way to think of things.
Idea, yeah.
And it is kind of
just
like it. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, finish your point.
All right, well, it just ties in with his whole thing being about like his reputation, how he curates it and everything, and he, it just ties in very well with that.
He talks about this Jack a bunch, where he's like, write a book if you want like a say in how people talk about you.
Yeah.
And like later he hints at, oh, the book isn't even true. It's just sort of like a
I told you what I wanted to tell you. Yeah.
And then because and all those ominous like, I can be pushed further than this, and you kind of don't believe it in season 3. You're like, you're just a nice boy. And then when we get to season 4, puts that boy under the ship, and you're like, oh shit. And he's like, oh, I did it before, and he's very mad again, and he throws him under again. Remember that?
Oh,
but
boy, do
just
I
quickly on his everybody remembers. Just on the introductory scene specifically, it's a neat thing because they tease. Because one of the big things is like, oh, what's happening with Eleanor this season? I remember the first time going through. Obviously, I'm a big Eleanor simp, so I was like, man, show me Eleanor. Fuck this Charles Vane prick. And they fake it out because they have like the fake judge when it's part of the show. And it's like a great like, oh, we're gonna see Eleanor. So you get excited, and they
did
cut
that
to it.
Trick you this time?
Dude. Yes, I think it did.
Yeah, it tricked me. I was like, I don't remember a trial at all. Yeah.
But yeah, and then the next time it cuts and it's like a dude following. Oh, I think it's Vane says something ominous or something uh about Eleanor
Yeah.
or
Well, wait, is
somebody, and
this
then
at
you
the
cut to
end?
the dude walking up.
Yeah, he's like, we won't know what
I
form it comes in or something.
Yes, yes. It's something more. It's not about Eleanor. It's ominous about something's coming.
Oh, I know.
Oh, and then
It's he's
yeah,
talking about how like we have Spain's gold on England's island. Like this demands a response.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
And who knows what the? And then it's who we'll come to know as Rogers, and you see his feet walking, and then he opens the cell door, and
yeah,
Eleanor, and
great.
you're like, it's my queen Eleanor. She's back, guys.
Yep,
I'm excited. But
wearing her
yeah.
prisoner
So just
outfit.
that like framing of that scene makes it already like, oh, like you're already very excited and there's a lot of energy moving into that scene, and then for him to sort of have the introduction he does, it like the build up works and making him very likable very immediately.
Yep.
Because you're like, man, Eleanor's got to get out of here. This is bad. I don't like this for Eleanor. And it's like, oh, this dude is not talking down to her. He's
He's
he
helping her
wants her
out.
help. That's cool. He does threaten her and stuff, and then I think the end of episode 1, right, is us seeing his fleet for the first time with Eleanor. What a cool shot. But you were going to talk more about something, and I wanted to bring up the lead up to that scene, and you were going to talk about the scene. Or talk about the scene, I
Was
guess.
I? I think I already talked about it. The just his speech he gives about how like everyone owns a part of you. I think it's great.
Okay.
Oh no, I talked about how it feeds in with his reputation and everything. Yeah, good stuff. So the next more general kind of point about Rogers is just the fact that he is enacting Thomas's plan, right? But
Yeah.
the I guess the distinction is, which I'm not sure if you could figure it out if this was your first time watching, but the big distinction here is that he is doing something good for Nassau, which is enacting Thomas's plan, but he's not doing it for morally good reasons. Like I don't think he really cares if Nassau thrives or becomes a good place. Like he's doing it more out of self-interest than what like Thomas was doing it for, which is completely like Thomas had a pure vision. He just wanted to make the place a better place, right? He wanted to try and make everyone win in this situation. Whereas, where I would say that Rogers is all about he's trying to build his reputation. But
I think that's what Thomas was kind of trying to do too. Because I think in the first scene we get with James, because we're on a first name basis, him and
McGraw
is I think he says like, "Oh, you're an ambitious man, you're doing well or something. Why would they send you or something?" Is the end of that scene. And I think it's him trying to like, and it is him trying to reform England in a sense to make it better, I guess, more good morally. And obviously the pods and not killing people is part of that. So yeah, I guess it is different motivations. I think a big point is made that Rogers is like there's even like a monologue I think Eleanor has with Max where she repeats like the governor is a compassionate man. He will do his thing.
Yeah.
And he even says that to Flint, and then afterwards he threatens him a little bit. But it's like a very big thing is like not having like Rogers. You kind of feel bad for him, and when he's taking Jack, you're like, oh, he's got to take Jack. That kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But obviously from his perspective, he does.
Everything this season goes terribly for him. Like the gold, like part of the gold is missing. Then he has to send Jack. Then he loses Jack, and then he gets the flu, and then he is dying in a hospital bed or whatever. And then he declares martial law at the end because it's just terrible. What a terrible season for him. Everything goes badly.
Yeah. But I think part of like the fundamental point is that Flint has changed. Like England is now part of the problem. It cannot be reformed. It must be broken. And him, no matter in what fashion, him being England's representative here, fighting for England is fundamentally something that Flint can just not agree with. So that's sort of where the inherent conflict comes. I feel like the first time I was watching the show, I was more like, oh, let's just compromise. Fuck it. Let's not. Because you're like, I like Rogers. Like, maybe he can come on our side and be a pirate or something. Rogers, that sounds like Gold D. Roger, like from One Piece. It's like, that's a pirate thing, right? Maybe you will become a pirate. No, that's not how the show happens. But, yeah, it's just sort of like, it's like, oh, you might even be the best of England. Now, that's probably not true for the further context we get in season 4, but it's like, even if you are still of England, and that is a system we do not want here. It is too fundamentally broken. Fuck you and goodbye. And it's like, well, he's sort of doing a bad thing with good intentions a little bit. And it's like, that's kind of pitiful. It's kind of sad, but he'll earn our ire moving forward.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, in
but
this
there is no
season,
direct.
he is unequivocally, he seems like a very good guy, right? Like, and even at
Yeah,
some points, it feels like an underdog. He's like, everything's going wrong for
yeah.
him. We kind of root for him to kind of succeed. Um,
And this he's characterized well by like the other British people around him who are just like the worst, like the one
yeah,
bloke we were talking about just then,
that
and
guy,
like
yeah.
he listens to Eleanor. He's like doesn't have a problem with her being a woman in charge. He doesn't have a problem with Max being like a black woman in charge.
Yep.
He's like, oh, maybe the reform is possible if everybody's like Wood Rogers, but also maybe it's not because he ships people on the underside. That's not good.
Crazy.
And mean, and he has a temper. What a bad bloke. But yeah,
All right. Yeah, he's interesting. Let me have a look. So, I guess my next point that I wrote, is like I kind of remember what he does next season. So maybe this is true, maybe it's not. But to me, he feels very scary when I'm watching him here because he's portrayed as very
Yeah.
likable, capable, and intelligent. Like he seems like a protagonist, basically. Like you could easily have a show with him as the lead, and because of that, it's very scary to see him like that. Because knowing that he will eventually become a villain.
yes,
Yeah.
especially when it's like the tease is obviously there in the Jack scene where he's like,
Yeah.
the ruse is sort of like because even when he initially meets Jack and they're like going back and forth and he's like even polite to Jack and he's like sort of fucking with him going back and forth or whatever. I read your book, it wasn't that good, and
Yeah.
even Jack then is rich boy wants approval from the parents, maybe the father,
Yep.
inherits business, whatever. His summary is so Jack and it's so funny,
Yep.
it's so cute. He doesn't immediately. He even asked Jack like what he thought the gist was or whatever. It's like, oh, he's actually like curious and things like that.
Yep.
And yeah, and then later when like it's specifically because it's the book thing, and the book thing is brought up a whole bunch, and Maddie even has like a copy of the book on that Scott sent her and everything. It's like,
Yep.
and then like, oh, the book. Don't put too much faith in the book, you fucking idiot. I can do some crazy shit. Because he does threaten Flint too, but that one's not nearly as scary, where he's like, from this day forward, since you were rejecting me and will not like come to see reason or civilization, now any pirate that is captured will be hung again, and the
Yep.
pardon is like disqualified or whatever. But that one's not that scary. I don't know, maybe it's because Flint's there. Flint will fuck this prick up.
Yeah.
But when it's Jack, it's like, oh, Jack could get fucked up by this bloke. And he does. He knocks him out in the back of the cart.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's specifically in the cart where he's like, yeah. And it's like, oh, that's spooky. Especially knowing what comes next.
Yep.
Even on the first viewing, I think I remember being like, oh, that's ominous.
Yep.
Very good delivery probably from the actor.
Yeah, he's a great actor. Very handsome man as well. So
Got a cool scar.
yes, indeed. Which honestly, is that like I'm assuming that's a character scar, right?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
assume. I don't know. I've never seen this bloke in interviews.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, so final directly like Rogers related point is that he declares martial law at the end, which I thought was interesting because
I didn't remember that.
yeah,
that
they
was
say
interesting.
this line. It was like, yeah, martial law. And yeah, I mean, it's just crazy because I guess him like it is interesting how when he wakes up from the flu, he does side with Eleanor, right? And he's like, hey, it doesn't matter what happened, we're gonna do blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So it feels
That's
like he
another
has
thing that makes
changed
him
at this
likable,
point.
right? He like doesn't like undermine Eleanor. Even by then, like Eleanor's decision was to kill Vane, so even then you're like, that wasn't nice, Eleanor.
Yeah, bad Eleanor, yeah. Vane good.
But continue, what were you saying?
Nope, that's the entire thing, Kyle.
But I cut it off at the end, so maybe I didn't hear it. So what
All right,
was the
let
point?
me read it out verbatim here. He declares martial law after he wakes up from the flu.
The flu that he didn't have, Lamau?
Yep. And that's all I wrote. So I think maybe I expanded on that, but I don't remember.
Yeah,
Yep, that's the thing.
crazy stuff.
So-
Yeah, outside of the Eleanor stuff, I can't think of. I remember I pointed out earlier that I liked his acting in the scene where the girl spy confessed.
Yes, yes.
Oh, because that's another part of that scene is like he has all the gems. He's like, oh, I don't even have to tax people for like months. We can just use this.
Yeah.
And then it's like taken away from him because also he nearly kisses Eleanor in that scene, but then she barges in. It's like,
How
oh, she's gonna
awkward.
catch.
I
Actually-
hate that. Oh god, they were so close and they're walking.
Oh,
She definitely
good.
knew. She definitely knew what was happening. Oh god.
She likes it too. But yeah, everything about that scene is great. But that even has Eleanor in it, and I guess we're saving all the Eleanor stuff for
So
now.
right now,
or-
yeah, we're gonna talk about Eleanor and
We are
Max.
talking about
But to start off, we're going to start with Max.
We're gonna start with the monologue. Are we
I
nuts?
want to know.
Or-
So I wrote here, what the heck is Max's backstory? Her dad did bad things to create a safe home for this little girl, but that girl wasn't Max? And that's my all confusion there. I have no idea what this backstory was.
Because slave masters fuck their slaves, and that's evil. And Max is the product of a slave master raping a slave. So she has to sit on the outside, even though he's also her father, but he's his lawful wife, and his lawful daughter get
Oh
to
my
sit
goodness.
inside. Did you not?
I didn't pick up
I
on
guess
any of that at all.
maybe this might just be because like there's a big thing. This is in like political circles. It might even be in Django Unchained where a big thing is made about like, oh, a lot of slave masters would like rape their slaves all the time, and that's why like and like produce a lot of slave kids, and it's sort of like it's like the epitome of racism being stupid of like this is his daughter and this is also his daughter. That's like an example that's gone to a lot, but that daughter stays out like
Wow.
and sleeps in like a mud tent and is treated awfully and might even be raped when she grows older or whatever, maybe even by the same man or whatever.
Yeah.
But and then there's the daughter on the inside that's treated like basically a princess. And Max kind of twists that on her head in this monologue where she's like, the fact that that happiness existed anywhere was like something she always aspired to from there on. And it's also like an amazing feat that like, how did Max get here from that? Maybe she was on a plantation on Nassau, but she has a French accent, so I assume she's from France, and then she broke away somehow. Like, what a crazy tale that must be.
Yeah.
What a great character. But yes, just the delivery of all of that of like, I don't know, the reveal of like, oh, because she talks about this family of like when I was a kid, she described like the bugs and the mud on her feet or whatever, and she would look in and like the reveal that like, oh, she would watch this girl play with her father, and then she mentions it a bunch of time before saying her father, my father.
Yeah.
The greatest monologue I ever heard in my life. I had a whole bit for this. I had one of my notes where I was going to try and read it in the Max accent because I wrote it exactly how her lines are written.
Oh boy.
It was like, I'm not going to do the accent. I might try the cadence.
No,
It's
come
like,
on, do it.
When I started episode 3, I just said it, and I thought I changed it. No, now it doesn't make sense. I'll just say it, but when I mean it, I mean like the timeline thing.
Yep.
No, I can't do it. There's too much pressure, and I'm smiling.
Come on, just do it. Just do it.
When I started episode 3, it was placed in the middle of the episode, and at first, I did not know why. I wrote something. And then as the episode progressed, I remembered it was because I had gone back to rewatch the Max father monologue a bunch of times.
Wow.
My God, what a scene. I wrote the whole thing out. It was so good. If I had actually had the balls to do it, it would have been the greatest thing I've heard in my life.
Yeah.
But I wrote it exactly how she, or maybe it's just how she says the lines, but she always pauses it. Like,
yeah.
she'll do like a long sentence, then a short bit, then a long bit, then a short bit. But I just love everything about that monologue. It was unironically, because when I first clicked on it, like, why is this in the middle of the episode? And then I was like, and then when I got to the scene later, I was like, oh, because it's this episode. And I was like, oh my God, so good. Greatest monologue I ever heard, besides not the only other, but the other great Max monologue that's to come at the end of season 4 about Anne and how much they love each other, even though I really don't care about their love that much. It's the greatest scene of all time.
All right, well, I'm going to go and re-listen to this monologue then with context now.
Yes, and you're going to love it. You're going to message me in all caps, greatest scene of all time after you watch it up, finish this recording. There was something. Oh, that whole beginning of the episode, like, Anne's point about how, like, because they go to trade the gold away, and it's like with this dude who's getting like a double blowjob at the start, and you're like, and Anne's just like disgusted, and Max is, and they like, and I think he even says like the N-word woman knows how to read or something, and he's like, that's amazing or whatever, and he's like, he's being like a condescending prick, and he's being the worst. And like later in that scene, Anne's like, why would you want to try and live in like their civilization where they teach their sons to be like that or something?
Yeah.
And that gets into like the whole, this civilization shit is fundamentally fucked up. This pirate shit is the only way to go. Let's kill them all.
Yep.
All the Englanders. But yeah, that fits into all of that. And then, because Max's point is basically not to.
Yeah.
Max's point is to try and join that and create that for yourself, which is interesting. Because a lot of the early Max stuff in the season is her, like, terror of her knowing that, like, oh, this is all going to end. And, like, Jack thinks he can stop it, and Flint thinks they can stop it with, like, their masculine muscle and to fight to get rid of it. And she's just given up. She's like, no, England's going to come back. They're going to fuck everything up, and I'm going to get something out of this. And that's why she tries to take a piece of the And there's also the mini thing with that one really dumb dude who keeps losing like a massive stack of coins everywhere.
Yep.
Adele walks and says, "I found this," and they're like, "Oh, that's the first one, right?" And he's like, "No, that's the second one. He already lost this one too." And it's like,
Yep.
"Oh,
It's like, how dumb are your crew? And
Adele's got more speaking roles in this one. It's so good."
I almost had a section for Adele and Featherstone, but nope.
Yeah,
I didn't have enough to say. But yeah, it's great. And like when Featherstone like becomes civilized or whatever, and he's like, "Oh, I hope you don't love me any less," or something like, man.
Yeah, well, I hope this doesn't detract from your attraction
Yeah.
to me or something. He just sort of gives a look, and it's like,
Yep.
this is funny. I like that she's also always at like the Billy meetings. It's great. She is their spy, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Oh
man, when I was watching the Blind Wave reactions and they could not figure out who the spy was, it was just terrible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were like theorizing. Oh, is it Eleanor? Is it Max? I'm like, no, it's Adele. But it's alright. They figured it out in the end. So
yeah.
Next, there's a lot with Eleanor and Max.
Are we going to get to the Rogers stuff? Because you're like, first we got to talk about Max, but are we going to talk about Eleanor and Roger or later?
So I think we're chronologically throughout the storyline here, maybe. Because there are a few conversations that I think lead up to Eleanor. Maybe not. We can talk about it now, I guess. So with Eleanor...
All right, let's start with the first scene.
Yeah.
Immediately when you see them together, you're like, they're going to fuck, and I want to watch it, right, Ari? Like I was like, yes.
You know what when they...
Right.
I guess, yeah. I know when they got to the actual sex scene, I was like, oh yeah, this is Kyle's favorite scene. I remember that. That's what I was thinking in my head.
Oh, it was so good. It was great.
Yeah.
It was no Rainier and Kristen Cole, but it was pretty good.
Man.
It wasn't.
Yep. Anyway, yes.
But yeah, I don't know, everything building up to it. It's just like great. The kiss. Oh, and the speech that I was going through now that I tried to look up, but I can't remember. Because it is 3 now. No, it's 4 nows, and it's specifically more than 3, because the rule of 3 means it should be 3. But then she hits you with the last now, and it's the greatest. You know what I'm talking about, right?
So now. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying?
You now.
Yeah.
It's something you now. I'm devoted to you now. Pause. I
Yeah.
love you now. Ah, I'm in love with Black Sails. It's so good. I don't know.
Yep.
I was actually thinking, this is kind of a tangent. I don't know if I want to talk about this, but
Go ahead.
Because it's a whole Miller tangent about how Miller seems to love stories with like friendship stuff, and he always talks about his friends, and I'm like, oh, Miller loves his friends. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
He's never gonna watch this because he doesn't watch.
Oh
Black
yeah,
Sails,
no
so
way. Yeah.
shit talk him. Friends suck. I hate friends. What I want is a girlfriend. So obviously, I love all the romance shit, and he loves the friendship stuff. That's why he loves One Piece. Because it's all about friends, and nobody falls in love in One Piece because it's a horrible series and there's no love. And I love Black Sails and Rainier and Kristen Cole because I love seeing the romance shit.
Right.
Because that is interesting to me. And it's just easy. I don't know. I love it. Every stupid example of it. I guess except for Anne and Max. I just don't care.
Yes.
Though they have the greatest scene of all time at the end of next season.
I can't
But
wait.
it's just Max. You're gonna see it and you're gonna be like, whatever, this scene was okay.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'll think of you. I'll be like, oh yeah, I gotta pay attention to Kyle's scene.
It's in the snow in Boston. I'm gonna go watch
with
it.
Eleanor's grandma or something. Yeah.
Eleanor's grandmother, the great character in this show.
I can't wait to see her. I don't know who she is.
She's in like 3 or 4 episodes, and like she's like big parts of it. Don't you remember the drowning the cat monologue?
Not at all, but we'll get there. Don't you worry.
Talking Richard and like my dumb son and his stupid cat. And then Max answers the riddle at the end, and you're like, oh my god, how did she know Max is the smartest girl of all time? Never mind, we're gonna get into season. God, I'm so excited to watch season 4 now.
Yeah, okay. Eleanor and Rogers.
Yeah, I'm in love with them immediately. I was like, sexual tension, and then they slowly do it. He's like a nice dude, and I'm like, yes. And then they just build it up so perfectly. And I'm like, ugh, so good.
Yeah.
I was in love with their love the whole time, Ari. I don't know. Just because the I love you now comes after they sleep together. Now, the sleep together is cute too.
Mm-hmm.
Slowly leading him into the bedroom. He's clearly trepidatious. It's that episode where he and Jack talk about his wife for the first time. Her name is Sarah. That's what I remember.
Yep.
So it's even like some conflict there. So it sort of makes you feel bad, but you're like, even then you're like, fuck it. Let's go for it. It's great. Too much chemistry here for them to fuck this stupid wife. And literally, not literally. Anti-literally, though they will be married the next time we see them, Ari. Spoiler alert.
Wait, who?
Eleanor and Rogers.
Oh, okay. I
This is
believe
not
it.
Game of Thrones time. Divorces are allowed at this point.
Right.
But yeah, because they're gonna start like, "Where's my husband?" And you're like, "Husband," and then in the first episode of next season.
Exciting.
I don't know. Is there anything else? If you bring up another scene, I can talk about how much I love it. But right now, I can't think of anything else to say about Rogers and Eleanor. I'm devoted to you now. I love you now. Oh, so good.
Beautiful.
Great. Not as good as her father, my father, but it's pretty good.
I guess Eleanor has the scene at the I think it's after they have sex. I don't remember. Where she's talking about how she wants to make her word mean something now.
Oh yeah, that is like right after they're still in bed and stuff. Oh, in the line where he's like, everybody's gonna get sick, and I keep thinking to myself, everyone except for her.
Yeah.
I was like, aww.
Yep.
And I was in love with their love, Ari. That's my new line.
Beautiful.
Um,
So
it was
they're
so
your
good.
favorite couple in the show.
Because it's a whole monologue, like no, because she says like, "Oh, if you don't say something, I'm going to have to," and it's kind of a cringy line. It's like Eleanor's trying a little too hard here. Oh, and there's also like the double thingy, which it makes me love it even more. The fact that she could just be manipulating him, because right before it, she has a scene with Max where the implication is sort of like, well, they see you around together all the time, so I think they're all going to assume you're sleeping with him and whispering in his ear anyway. And it's like Eleanor's decision to sort of like embrace that or something. And it's like there's a tint of this could be exploitative, which makes it even better, even sexier, Ari. My goodness.
Beautiful.
But yes, the ride, like after they're in the bed, and then he starts going on a monologue. He's like, 4 more of my men are sick, and you're like, oh, he's talking about random like actual stuff now. Lame. But then he brings it back to being a romantic thing. And I was in love with Woods Rogers, Ari. I'm confessing it here and now.
Yep. The most handsome of men.
Does some dastardly things next time.
Yep.
We didn't talk about whether or not you like Flint's new haircut and that he's bald now. Looks pretty good, right?
Is that this season? Oh my goodness. So much happens.
Yeah, he had hair last time.
Yeah, it looks good.
Remember we didn't even talk about like the first scene of them where they're attacking the camp, just murdering all those people.
Crazy.
What bad blokes.
Oh, and then we talked about this, but the girl turns into Miranda, right? I would not have noticed if you didn't point that out last video.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, because I saw it and I was like, oh, why'd she look a bit different here? And then I'm like, oh yeah, Kyle said that she turns into Miranda.
It's interesting when they get to the one dude and he's like, oh, I thought you wouldn't kill me because I'm an honest man, unlike the corrupt people you killed up until this point, and he kills him anyway.
Yep.
Because I feel like I've seen that scene a million times where they get to the one dude, but this dude's actually an honest dude, so they like win him over, but it's sort of like, no, Flint kills him anyway because he's very devoted to this fuck England plan, and nice people might have to die, but as they're still standing with England, they stand against us, and we're going to kill them all.
Good. We hate civilization.
We do.
So, continuing with Eleanor and Max. So they have. So I can't remember if this is their first scene. Maybe it is. But Eleanor and Max talk about. Essentially, Eleanor wants to get Max's blessing for this council that Rogers is forming, and Max isn't part of that council.
Yeah.
So in this scene, I've written that Eleanor is a big simp for Rogers here. Because she says, in this scene, essentially, she's telling Max that Rogers is a good guy and he's trying to, like, all his intentions for Nassau are genuine. And she, like, threatens Max, where she's like, if you don't follow him, he can make life difficult for you. And I think that's, like, the first part where I started to dislike Eleanor a little bit, where I was like, she's, like, kind of... She's kind of
constantly
using it,
of Eleanor being like, yeah, in this season. I will admit, even as the #1 Eleanor defender.
Yep.
You definitely like her a lot less. A lot of it is also like, her. I guess this is a paralleling thing that also parallels to the Maddie and Silver thing, where like their futures are sort of intertwined, whether or not they're sleeping together or not. And so are Rogers and Eleanor. Rogers is like, if this doesn't succeed, I'm fucked, and you're fucked because I'm gonna owe everybody money and be in jail like Rackham was supposed to be. I wonder if that's going to come back and be some funny monologue, some funny irony, rather, in the very last episode.
No.
It will. Spoiler alert. But Eleanor's also fucked, right? Because then she goes back and she would get hanged or whatever because she's a pirate. So it's like they're intertwined. And so when she's advocating to Max, it's sort of like, is she really simping for him, or does she just really need him to succeed and is trying to sell him to Max? Also, obviously, all the Max and Eleanor scenes are like right with like history because they used to be in love. So everything is sort of like, is she coming back? Do they want to get back together? This will also be referenced in the great Max monologue that you don't remember later, where she talks about how she could tell that maybe Eleanor already always wanted something, but she was like, a man got in the way. We'll talk about this later. But yeah, all the scenes like that. There's another Max and Eleanor scene. I don't know if you have a note about this, but where they sort of clear the air because they sort of do become friends again. We agree to be friends. And there's sort of a clearing of the air part. This is one of the only notes I have.
Yep.
Where it says, where she basically asks, well, we can't be saying she here. Max asks Eleanor if Eleanor put her on the death list from the end of last season, people that were supposed to die. Now, in season 2, it's definitely very implied that Max is on that list. Eleanor says that she didn't put her name on the list and she couldn't do it, because obviously they're in love. But then Eleanor then asks if Max was the one that sold her out to Hornigold by telling him where she was, and Max also says no to this. So this is kind of interesting because do we believe either of them? I think I do, even if I don't know if that was the intention back in season 2. I believe that they're being truthful. But it's also like we can be friends, I guess, if we both didn't like literally try and get each other killed. Do they believe each other? It's interesting. It would be an interesting thing to think about. Any thoughts, Mr. Ori?
Well, I think it's interesting. Like, I think the way they frame the scene, even where I think it's at the end of the scene, and then the scene like kind of transitions with like a door slam kind of, and it's like, are they happy about the answers they just gave each other or not? But yeah, I think I agree that like I don't think they, like I think they're being truthful here, but I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess Max does give that monologue later about like oh god, how I hated you. So maybe she did hate her at that point and want to like sell her out to Hornigold. I don't know.
Yeah, that's when they have the monologue about the chair or whatever.
Yes.
I don't think the acting in that scene is too good, by the way.
Really?
Particularly. But I love Max. Don't be talking shit, Ari. What the fuck?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that scene, it's like it actually, like the monologuing got to me in that scene where I was a normie. Not as in a descriptor, not a label. I was part of the normies reactor crew.
Yeah.
Where I was like this, they cut to them and then suddenly just before anything, they're just sitting down already. And Max is just like, I hated that chair or something. And she just starts and it's like I think we need like a line of back and forth before we dove into the monologue.
Nope,
there's something else about
that's great
of that scene. You loved it?
Like that fucking chair. It's great.
I didn't like the delivery. Like you said it now, I'm like, ugh, Max, come on.
Nope, love it. I haven't seen a bad monologue this whole show. Good stuff.
Except for fucking Warship. Remember that one?
It's always when they swear, isn't it? You hate all the swearing in these monologues.
No, I love swearing. Fuck Benjamin Hornigold. Fuck his king and fuck their pardons. But yes.
You hate it. Yeah, it's like the fucking chair, the fucking Warship. You know?
Yeah, it is the. It is the.
Yeah, it's the abstraction, you know, instead of saying, okay, I don't know. So
I think it actually is abstraction. I think you hit the fucking nail on the head. Fucking nail.
Oh my goodness.
Max and Eleanor.
Yes.
Anything else?
So
I will say that their relationship is not that interesting to me. I think the most interesting stuff for both of them comes when they are, and not even just in the season, but in like the show in general. I remember, I think it was at the end of season 1 where we pointed out that I had forgotten that they had a scene at the end of season 1, and I actually really did like that scene where they basically like, look at how far we came, because Max is like in charge of the whorehouse, and she and Eleanor's also doing pretty good at that point. So I did like that. I like them as checks for each other's journeys. I don't like them being like the center of each other's journey, I guess.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Well, okay. Speaking about their journey, sorry.
Can you think about that? I don't like the Max and Anne stuff. I don't like the Eleanor and Max stuff. Maybe I just hate lesbianism. Maybe I'm homophobic, Ari. You ever think of that?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that seems right.
I do like Ellie and Dean though. That's complicated.
Yeah, I guess you're not homophobic.
I like that Portrait of a Lady on Fire movie. I think it might be my favorite movie. So maybe I do.
What do you think about Flint and Thomas?
That one's pretty good too. That's makes you cry in the last episode.
All right, you're
But
redeemed.
even Mac Man makes you cry in the monologue in the snow in Boston.
Crazy. So tears on everything.
Maybe I like everything.
Okay, so Talking about Max and Eleanor having similar journeys. One thing I thought was interesting, and I also maybe they pointed this out in the show, and they're like, "Oh, look at this parallel." But I thought it was interesting, which is that Max goes to Anne to retrieve the Urka gold, and she's doing it for the sake of Nassau, which is exactly what Eleanor did to Max in season 1, where she was like, "We need this gold back for the sake of Nassau," and she like forced her hand basically. So it's like she's gone full circle. She's in Eleanor's shoes in this position. Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, this is kind of beside the point, but it is referencing something you just mentioned. It's so cool where Anne walks out and she's like, "I trust you," and when they're dividing up the gold, remember that when they're in the cave?
Yeah.
So good.
Would you have stayed,
also,
Kyle?
No, I trust Max too.
Okay, good.
Oh, and this kind of gets into what you're talking about too. Where it was like Max was not allowed to see at the table because obviously the British government, like literally black people are all slaves, so they're not going to allow a black woman to be on their council. So because Max gets excited for a second, like, I'm going to be on the council.
Yeah.
But then Eleanor's like, "No, of course you're not going to be on the council.
Goddamn
You've
British.
got pirate country anymore. There's these fucking broken Brits.
Yeah.
Tear them all down." And this tied into something you just said, which was it ties into like them always being undermined and treated as silly women, and maybe this is why the bad British boobs come into it, because they're always in those dresses and being undermined by some moron in a red coat.
Yeah.
Fuck those red coats.
Yeah, I have a point on that actually. Red coats. It's an actual thing. They're wearing red coats. Like I'd always heard the term, like a red coat. Yeah,
because that's
an actual thing.
Most terms come from like the American not Civil War, War of Independence, right? Because it was with the British and the red coats.
I don't know.
The British are coming. They're in their red coats, and the Americans were all in blue coats. You know these, Ari. You're
I don't know anything. No, I know it was in Vinland Saga, right? The Civil War. Yeah, that's all I know.
That's about 700 years later, Ari.
No, we see it. We see it.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I know. They are in the red coats there. You can see the outfits. They're just like the Black Sails outfits.
Crazy. Anyway.
I think the blue coats look exactly the same. They were just blue because they used to be red, probably because they used to be British. But then they declared their independence. Crazy how that happens.
Yeah.
But yes, fuck the red coats. They're always undermining the girls. No girls are allowed to rule, even though Eleanor's a queen.
Yep.
And that's bad, and England is bad. You ever think about that?
Yeah, England is pretty bad. Yeah.
That tied into something you said, because you said something about.
Well, I was talking about their like full circle they come, and I guess my next, if you want to continue.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So I guess the other thing, they directly point this out, right? Like in that chair scene where they're talking about how Max says that she hated Eleanor, but in this moment she's become her. Which makes sense. Yeah, they've come full circle.
It's also interesting their different approaches, right? Nobody really knows Max is controlling everything, whereas everybody knew Eleanor was, and that's even played on in this because everybody like hates Eleanor for like ruling over them. So even when she's not really ruling over them, though she kind of is controlling them through the governor, they like rally. Like that's part of Billy's rallying cry as he becomes an agitator. Is like Eleanor Guthrie has returned to take what's yours once again, and it's like, man, this Eleanor bitch.
Yeah, it's very convincing. Yeah. Like, I mean, she cast out Vane once, and here she is casting out Vane again. All right. So
we'll get to that.
Next point, last point in this Eleanor Max section is that I don't remember when this is, but I wrote that Eleanor sides with the general over Max. Oh, I remember this. Yeah. So I guess at the end where the general is talking about how, we should take. Oh, sorry, some guy, the Black Spock guy comes in. Is like, can we take down Vane's hanging body? And then the general's like, no, we can't do that. It'll make us look weak. And Max is like, we should for the street. It's gonna get restless if we don't. And Eleanor is siding with the general and is like, let's leave him there another 3 days at least. I don't want to do it. I'd rather take it down, but we can't. Yeah.
It does make, like, Max and Eleanor are clearly very different characters. Like, it's not like they're in a unified front every time, even though they both think that the caravan was going to be attacked and everything. And that we're on the same side there. And sometimes they're on the same side, but not always.
Yeah, but I mean, in this scene, disregarding their relationship, like, just that made me, that's probably the most I've hated Eleanor when she said that. Because clearly that's not why she wants to keep Vane up there, right?
She is getting...
Sorry, say it again.
You think she is getting pleasure from it?
I don't care, like, if she is or not. But the fact that she doesn't even address that it could be a possibility, where she's like, she treats it as though she really doesn't want Vane there. Where it's like, I can't imagine her being that opposed to him being there. Like, yeah, maybe it is. I don't think it's really the pleasure. It's just the fact that to me, it seems very dishonest for her to be like, I don't even think about the pleasure, when clearly she would have to think about it. Like, there's something, like, she doesn't even address that Vane was special to her. I don't know. There's something dishonest about it.
Yeah, she doesn't. I don't know. That scene didn't make me dislike Eleanor at all. So
yeah, well, that made me hate her. That evil, Eleanor.
pull her at the B word.
No way. I was gonna say queen, but then I was like, that's too gendered. It doesn't have to do with the gender. It's just her. I don't like her.
Your bitch is not gendered, so you're allowed to say that one.
No, I'd never say that. All women are queens. Okay, so,
yes.
That's it. That's Eleanor and Max. Anything else you want to talk about with them before you jump to Vane?
Okay, I did have something, but I forgot it completely. God damn it.
Well, it'll come up in the miscellaneous thoughts, I'm sure. We belong.
God, hold on.
No problem.
What were we talking about? This was like 2 minutes ago, though. It wasn't the exact.
We're saying Eleanor is a queen. Rogers and Eleanor become a couple. Eleanor and Max are the same person, but they don't always agree.
No. It's gone. It's gone forever. It'll never return. Oh, it's right here. I pointed this out last time, but the scene where Eleanor and Hornigold are forced to like reconcile. I like that scene. It always stood out to me. Last time before rewatching it, where they're like, "Fuck your pride" or whatever, and it's like, if I can be here or something, and then Hornigold turning around like, "You and I have unfinished business, but the unfinished business I have with Flint is like different variety."
Yep.
Different sort, and the way he says it in his fucking Hornigold voice is so cool.
Yep.
I watched him blow into a tempest, and he came back.
Yep.
And he came back to life, or whatever. And he watched him becalmed, and he came back to life. I beat him, and and it's just like, oh, so good.
Yep. And he's wearing his hat, the Hornigold hat. Love it.
Yeah, it's like, and he's like, I love Hornigold, and he's like, flips of light, and because they're like spotting because he had the foresight, because he's not a dumb fucking redcoat Brit. He had to watch the ship, so he's been seeing like the glasses, the eyeglasses, and
the De Groot technique.
Sick. Yeah, he doesn't become dumb as soon as he becomes a bad guy.
Yep, but he's not back in the fort yet. Crazy. You'd figure he'd want to be in there, right? Yeah.
Well, maybe he wasn't allowed, but yeah. His chair's probably gone too. Maybe they burnt that fucking chair.
So symbolic.
Yes. But yes, that might be
a good time to transition into Vane. Okay, Charles Vane. So,
boo, we hate
what
Vane.
What a great man. I guess we talked about this a little bit already, which I say often when I'm reading out these notes. But so being a slave is a big part of this season, and Vane is kind of in both worlds that we have in this season. Like, he's both a pirate and he's both a slave as well, or he has been a slave. So he kind of bridges these two worlds of like piracy and slavery in a similar way to how Mr. Scott bridges them. Now, yeah, I guess that's the whole point, really. Like, it's just interesting that these are the two characters that,
yeah. Vane used to be a slave. We'll remember this with the big burly man and things like that. So he knows the pain.
Yeah.
So like when he's trying, like he's working with the slaves and he has to stop because the slaves are getting confused and stuff. It's like, man, we really feel bad for our poor boy Vane here. And I like the point where Jack like reiterates to him like, I get no pleasure from this, and Vane's like, if you got any pleasure from seeing like the slave shit, I would have killed you or something.
Yeah.
It's like, what a cool bloke this Vane fellow is.
Yep.
But yeah.
All right. So
cool.
Next up,
there's a lot of mystery in season 3, and I think it's more in like when the first one is in the first episode when they start throwing the slaves overboard. Oh, and Vane didn't know that there were slaves on the ship, but then he picks them up as to try and escape, and then Vane boards it anyway. But there's another one, and this is another Vane thing later when they find the Spanish intelligence and the one dude who you didn't have subtitles for, but I did, and he's telling Vane the monologue. And he's like, with what we're carrying, and then for like a good minute, it's like, oh my god, what's on the fucking ship? It's gonna be some crazy fucking ghost shit. This is where black sails turn supernatural, and it's like a Spanish intelligence. And there's another one. Oh, it's with Flint when like they find the ship abandoned, and the one captain is tied down, and he kept writing in the book like, "We
Oh
die alone."
yes, yes.
That was
I
all
guess
of
there
that.
is a
Like,
lot of mystery. It wouldn't have
yeah,
come out like stuck out to me, I guess. But yeah, it makes sense. Man.
fucking sick every time, bro. It was
Yep.
fucking
And you know
sick.
what? I guess in all of those cases, I also was very intrigued because I didn't remember the answer to those
I didn't
mysteries.
remember any of them either. I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember they get like attacked by Hornigod when they check out the ship, but I didn't remember what was
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the ship. Oh, the dude, he's chained down. I remember this.
Yep.
And I didn't remember the Spanish intelligence either. But yeah,
Absolutely
um,
not. Okay, well, talking about that Spanish intelligence, so we have Vane fighting this Spanish guy and then beating him and then talking to him. And I guess my first thing I wrote is that it's a very cool fight. And I even before they sit down and talk to each other about how close the fight was, in my mind I was like, wow, this is a really close fight. Vane could have died here. And I like even wrote a note about it that I was going to talk about. And then they like have the whole conversation about it. I was like, oh, I guess it makes sense. It was intentional.
this is preempted by the fact that usually they don't attack like Spanish Navy ships.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
because they're fleet and they're completely outnumbered the ship, they decided to do it. So it makes sense that he's a good fighting boy for Vane to go toe to toe.
Yeah, that was one of the best fights of the season. Maybe it was really cool. I mean, even like Blackbeard in that fight, where I don't know, he's just Blackbeard is so big when he fights. Like he's like
Yeah.
an imposing presence, standing, looming over everyone. And he like
He's
has all
like-
these guns he pulls out from his chest. It's great. But I guess the gist of the conversation between Vane and the Spanish guy is they talk about how there's very little separating everyone essentially in the world. There's you can empathize with everyone out there, which is interesting. I don't know if this surely I feel like this should tie into something bigger, but I can't think of what I guess that it would tie into.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it's tying into the fact that like Rogers isn't that bad of a guy, but because he's like fundamentally from a different force, we gotta kill him or something.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah. Good job, Kyle. I'll take that.
Vane
I'll
is
take
made
that.
to be like a saint in this season. Like he doesn't do
Yes.
one thing like this is morally questionable. Everything he does, like he's on the slave side, and then and then he is victimized because he is like hunted by all the pirates, and Jack helps get him out, and they have a little bromo. They have a hug.
Yep.
It's so cute, and yeah, everything like that. And it's like, oh, you're buttering everybody up for him to die and us to feel very bad when he does. And all of it is valiant sacrifice. He's sacrificing himself for Jack when he goes back and tells him to leave on the horse. He sacrifices himself for the movement when he doesn't let Billy save him at the end. He's
Yeah.
just sacrificing him and Flint are getting along and having cool conversations.
Yep.
Yeah. Charles
Indeed.
Vane. Fella.
He's more of
Wants to go
a protagonist here than ever.
So he had to die.
Wait, what? He had to die for what? Say it again.
I told you this last time. Remember, apparently the actor got a job on the one television show.
Yes,
Us
yeah.
to pay for it, so he had to be killed off in season 3. I don't know if that's true. That could just be some stupid shit people say on Reddit or something and repeat.
Yep.
I didn't see an interview or an article. I just saw probably YouTube comments on a blind wave reaction.
Yep,
So
probably.
take everything I say with a grain of
Well,
salt.
you know what? His death was great. I'm glad he died because he had a great death.
Yeah,
But we'll talk about that very, very soon. But
because we've avoided
first,
talking about Teach in regard to.
yeah. Well, believe it or not, the next point I have is about Teach. Well, Flint and it's essentially Flint and Teach fight each other, right?
The Vane.
Yeah, but the whole point of that thing, the whole point of the fight is for Vane. And even, I guess the big thing of the fight is that, sure, those two are fighting, but then Vane has already fought Flint and lost, and he was gonna save him in the end anyway, because like the scene they have at the beginning of the fight is like Flint and Vane talking to each other. And now let me see what I wrote here. So Flint says that he doesn't care about any of the past agreements that him and like Vane had together, because he's just gonna go and save Nassau because that's his home, and he what do you call it? Like questions, I guess. Vane is like, who are you? That's the only question that matters.
He's Vane of Nassau.
And I think that speech is really interesting because it feels like it's the first time that Flint has ever gotten through to Vane. Like like Vane thinks there for a second, and it's like the most effective speech that he's ever given him.
Vane ends up saving him, but yeah. It's interesting because he says they took my home from me, and obviously that means like a bunch of things. It means Thomas Hamilton, it means Miranda, it means Nassau, literally where he lives right now.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, fuck them. Let's go get him back. If Teach doesn't want to do that, then fuck him. God, the meeting on the stand is so good.
Yeah, it is.
and Billy's just sitting there too because he's like number 4. So cool. um, the is this where we talk about Teach generally, or
No, yeah, we have
a
a whole section for Teach. So there's 2 more points on Vane, which I've got. So I'll describe what they are. The first one's about Vane and Eleanor talking, and then the last point is about Vane's execution. And I guess they're tied together because like Eleanor talks to him before he gets executed. But
I love how it's like a build up all season to then like he sees her on the ship
yeah,
after Blackbeard points it out. Blackbeard's backstory of like I either had to kill you and get rid of Guthrie or
Yep.
let you live and leave, and I chose to leave. And all like the misinterpreting of that throughout history of like Eleanor throughout Blackbeard, and it's like cool.
yeah,
Oh no, that's a Blackbeard point. But fuck it, I won't remember it now because it's a Flint point. But when he talks about how I guess this is like Flint and Vane's supposed philosophy, though Vane like betrays this, and that's sort of the point. Is like, we mentioned this before of them hunting on the open water as being free, and they're like cheetahs in the savannah or something, and the ocean is so vast, and you don't stay at home or make a home anywhere. You just sort of continue on because to hunt is to live or whatever, and they like to beat people up and risk their lives every day and live animalistically like that. They're big tough blokes and they can get away with it. Obviously, Vane is like, nah, actually, Nassau and fighting for something is important. Fuck. Oh, and him saying that, like, every pirate used to believe that, and then this bloke showed up and started to tell everybody that they were wrong and that Nassau could be something more if they all listened to him. And, like, he's talking about Flint as Flint is sitting right there, and it's like, it's so fucking cool.
Yeah. Actually, that's a question I had. Is he talking about Flint before he was a pirate or when he was a pirate? Like, is he talking about his first mission to Nassau with, like, Thomas or, like...
No. I think it's when he first arrives to become a pirate.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. All right.
Yeah, it's like, so cool. There's all those big pirates back then, and Flint came in and fuck Blackbeard and this fucking stupid shit. Everybody listen to me. And then by the time we start the show, he is the number 1 pirate in town, and Blackbeard's gone. And even Hornigold, who is still a pirate at that point, is beneath Flint, and so is Vane and everything.
King Flint, cool. King of the pirates, but not really, because that's Silver, right? But
yes, this pussy out Billy chose fucking Silver. Can you believe this shit? What an undermining prick. We'll get to him later.
So, Vane and Eleanor talk for the final time, and for the first time in a long time. So the first most cutting line that he says is about how the only crime of mine that angers you is the one that no one else cared enough to even call a crime.
Yeah.
It's like, man, what a line. And it's just it makes so much sense. Like, I didn't even consider that. I was like, yeah, she hates him and now he's getting the justice, but it's not. Like, he's getting punished for something completely different. Man.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things to talk about. First of all, I love that, like, the cliffhanger of the episode beforehand is her walking into his cell and her giving a monologue to Rogers about, like, she doesn't no idea what she's going to do when she sees him, which is cute. Yeah. And it's like, this is like the whole season. This is actually a point I was building up, and then I got sidetracked. Was the whole season is built up of them finally meeting again. Like, he sees her on the ship when Blackbeard points out to him that she's on the stern and whatever of the ship. And she knows that he's around or whatever, and she's like, Charles is here. And there's like a bunch of build up, and they see each other, and it's enough. It's like such a big character moment for these two. We've split them apart for so long at this point. Them seeing each other, what a big moment. And then obviously we get it at the next episode. It's interesting because I feel like for another show I would use this as a criticism. But it's also brilliant in making you dislike Eleanor in this moment and like Vane. Is her sudden love for her father, which I really liked last time. One of my standout scenes was him putting his arm on her or whatever, and her putting her head on his arm, and I was like, so good. But it's like you have to ask yourself when she's going on that, like when I was finally building something with him or whatever, and you're like, Eleanor, do you really like this father prick so much? And then when Vane like turns it on her and says like, he gave you up, he was going to like sell you out completely, and it's like, this is another thing, like the Max things earlier. Did he actually say that, or is Vane just trying to hurt her in this moment? It's like you fucked Vane over so much, and he finally did something that hurt you, and it's like, and Eleanor's freaking out. So it's like everything's building for you to like side with Vane coming out of here. But I still like, I don't know, everything about Eleanor punching the shit out of him, going to the corner and screaming. is just so good.
Yeah, that scream is really good. Man.
Yeah. Fucking sick. Everything about it. And I don't think I appreciated this scene as much as the first time through.
Yeah.
It was interesting because I feel like back then I was just like, man, fuck Vane. What a prick. I love Eleanor.
But now he's the nicest guy ever. Doesn't do anything wrong. He dies for the sake of others. Man.
You know what he did with Matt in that first season? That's probably
That wasn't even him. That was his crew. He tried to stop it.
Kinda.
I don't know.
He did have her in chains naked before that, and she was clearly beaten up a little bit. That's not.
Yeah, but
nice.
she wronged him. So it's justified. All right. Yeah,
You're gonna say scene because you had some lines written down, or was that the only line you had written down?
No, on this scene, the only thing is that line, and then also just the punch and the scream is just so good. Yeah. But
I think it's such a great detail that she made him bleed. I'd like probably if a woman punched you in the face, you'd bleed.
You definitely would. Yeah.
I was like, man. Like I remember in that scene in the first episode, like he didn't bleed or nothing. I was like, oh, she hit him pretty hard. That's cool. I know it's such for whatever reason that's like a power scaling win for Eleanor.
Yeah, I mean it is interesting because like I had that same, I don't know if you had this, but I had the impression of like she hits him once and I was like, oh, okay, he's just gonna like shake it off, and then she keeps hitting him and eventually it does, like he looks a bit rattled, like it actually hurts him a bit. Yeah,
that's cool.
But next up is Vane's execution, which we've talked about some stuff.
Yeah, we talked about the cinematography.
Yep, the silent drive. It's great.
His speech, obviously, and then her fast tracking it all. Featherstone running in, like again, the build up to these scenes is so good. Where he runs into Billy and is like, "They did the trial in the night. It's all fucked, and then he's going to be executed today." And Billy's like freaked out. We don't have enough time, and they got to run. And then it's like, oh, it's all building. Like, oh, Eleanor did all this. What a bitch. And then it keeps building, and then the pastor comes in. And you're like, fuck this pastor, creepy pastor.
Gives him some bread.
Creepy pastor, I believe that's a thing, huh?
Yep.
But yes, his last meal is a fucking piece of bread. That's no good.
Does he even eat it?
I don't think so. Did it make you think of the Abigail thing?
Yeah, it did.
Gave her
I even looked at it. I'm like, are there worms in here? Let me have a look. I couldn't see any.
The bread looked remarkably similar, besides the worms. I was like, oh,
yep,
they must cut it this way.
It looked good. Like I'd eat it. Like, it looks like good bread. Yeah.
But last meals are supposed to be extravagant, Ari, not pieces of bread. That's no good.
Depends how hungry you are, I guess.
It's the last meal. It's the last one ever.
Hey, if you're hungry, then all the meals are the same, right? Any
oh yes, spice they say, Mr. Ari.
Yes. Like shark's blood.
Yeah. I feel like yes. The preacher prick. I feel like it's like the back and forth.
Yeah, so the three I've pointed out. Oh no, this is from the speech when he dies. Yeah, when he's talking to the priest guy. Yeah, I guess he has a few things, and the first one is about talking about his remorse and how his remorse he will keep to himself, and the fact that the priest just wants to hear it so much says more about the priest than it does about him. Which I thought is just so great. What a line.
Sheep, not the shepherd.
Yes, you are the sheep, or not the shepherd. Yeah, it's great. Yeah,
it's
beautiful.
Sucking sick,
poetic, beautiful. But then he gives his speech when he's actually dying, or about to die, and I guess. Oh,
wait! On the scene beforehand, the last line. I feel like I mentioned this already, but the like, I'll fucking beat the shit out of God line. I don't remember what it was. If my remorses, I'll take them to God or not at all, or something. I'll tell them to myself. Like cool. I remember there's like a DBZ abridged line with Vegeta saying something like that. I don't know. It's cool every time when you're like, I'm gonna go and meet God soon because I'm gonna die and I'm gonna beat the fuck out of him. Fuck God and fuck you. It's like, oh, that's pretty cool, Charles Vane. You're pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Good.
Then speech.
Yeah, he gives a speech. I guess the whole purpose of the speech is about not to be afraid of dying, right? Like being afraid of death is a choice. And so he said, I have three things that I kind of abstracted from the speech. And yeah, the first one is about how fearing death is a choice. The second one is him talking about how they are the few and we are the many. And then the third one is about how they can't hang us all. So those are the three, like 3 commandments or whatever, equivalent to 10 commandments of, yeah. So it's
He seeds the seeds of the seed of the revolution that's to come next season. He does
Yes.
Billy's job for him.
It's very effective. No one cheers. They all just look uncomfortable. Like, it's great.
Yeah, after he gets hanged.
And they pull him
The
down.
slow, like him seizuring as he's dying, I think that's like a humbling thing, and it's interesting that they showed it like that.
Yes.
Because it's not like, because the speech is like rousing and like poetic almost, but like the slow death isn't. So them coming out and like pulling him down to help him die is or romantic or something like that.
Yep. Looking
But
at
yeah,
Ellen all the whole time.
there was another death in Black Sails that was like, oh, that wasn't very, like, it wasn't a very pretty death. But I can't remember
Teach?
which. Well, no, it's not Teach. I did think about that, but it was something else. Or maybe it was something else from something else I watched. Fuck, I'm getting confused here. My old man brain.
Yeah, you're getting old.
Move on because I can't think.
Well, next up is Jack. Jack Rackham.
Oh, we're moving on from Vane at all.
Yep.
Goodbye.
I mean, he dies. Yeah. That's it. We never see him again. Never have to think about him.
Our boy Jack is so cool, where he's constantly in love with Jack, whereas I feel like he never was that directly before. But now this is season 3, and we love Charles Vane, so he loves Jack.
Yep.
Because we do too.
Yep. Jack did kill his entire crew at one point, but he forgives him.
No, that bitch Anne did it, and he knows it now.
Yes, very true.
What Jack Rackham? They pissed on him.
But Jack and Vane, they're good friends. And I have a quote here because I refuse to let you down. That's the thing I was quoting before, apparently. So good.
Good Jack, desperate speech. It's cool.
So the big thing with Jack, go ahead.
Jack always, but it's nice that he like backs it up too. Like even when he's talking to Teach later at the very end of the season, where he's like, "Oh, there was no more to that thought, or there was more," because he was. Oh, it seemed like he was going to like put Jack over. That's wrestling Steak for saying something nice about him.
Wow.
But then he doesn't do it, and the implication is still kind of there. I don't know. It's cute because Jack could easily be like the comic relief fuck up character who we love despite it, but he is competent too.
Very competent, yeah. I don't think I wrote this in the notes, but like him and Flint talking to each other was surprisingly like it got to me. I was like, wow, these two people, like these two smart people, they've never really interacted. Like that first scene where Jack is talking about how he threw the key away, and like he's giving Flint this speech about how important how important the treasure is, and how the only way this ends is with him walking away with it. I was like, man, this is like Jack is the formidable like challenger for Flint here. Like it's really interesting to see them interact.
There's another scene when they're beginning to bury the treasure where it's him, Silver, and Flint, and it was like, oh, them strategizing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's like, man,
these
characters really don't interact that often. Wow.
Yeah. So Jack's entire kerfuffle in this whole season is the fact that he chose to go back to Nassau, right? Like he was already out of it in the beginning of the season with Anne, and then he chooses, for the sake of his reputation, to head back to the town. And that's what he's undoing, I guess. I mean, not really undoing, but that's what causes all the issues and struggles.
There's sort of 2 interesting points. First of all, I forgot the first one. Second of all, it seems in previous seasons, Jack had to play straight man to Anne, and Anne would do something crazy, or she would say, fuck you, Jack, or something, and it would be funny and it would be endearing for Anne. Whereas in this season, a lot of it is like Jack doing some crazy shit and Anne reacting to it and being like the straight one, which I think is interesting. Like in that moment you were talking about where he's like, I've got to go back because I don't want to change my name. It matters to me. It matters a lot, or something he says, and he says it in a Jack. So cute. And her being like, we've won the game. Let's just fucking walk down the street a little bit and we win. And she always swearing at him like, what the fuck are you doing, or whatever. It's like, I just thought about that. It's like, she's playing straight man this season, so it makes you like Jack more. The other point was so much better, and I forgot it. It was about Jack and Flint and something and Silver and maybe, and what were you talking about? Fuck me.
The treasure.
Me. Yeah, the treasure.
No, I don't know. Well, I'll just continue, and I'm sure it'll come to you. And so, yep, go ahead.
It's about the name thing. It's you. Have you seen the Crucible?
No, I haven't. Believe it or not.
The big Crucible line at the end is, "It's my name." and I cannot have another. And he screams, and he refuses to sign a confession and chooses to get executed. Because he won't say that he made a deal with the devil, even though he didn't. The whole fucking thing about Puritanism or something. But yeah, the speech is basically that his main name means everything. And this is like very much a Jack Rackham thing, and they even look similar. Like Jack looks very much like the Crucible movie version. He's played by a famous actor. I forget his fucking name. Winona Ryder's in that movie playing Abigail. Abigail's an evil girl. She's also very pretty, so I love her, even though she kills many people by accusing them of witchcraft.
Nice.
She just wanted to run away with him at the end. My favorite character. What a queen.
Yep.
Literally the most evil character of all time, by the way. I'm simping for now. That's the funny part, Ari, right?
Yep.
You think it's funny, right? Winona Ryder, the prettiest woman I ever saw in my life.
Yes. I've seen her in Stranger Things.
She's a woman there. She's like fucking 20 or something in this movie. She's playing a 14-year-old or something.
Oh, great. All right.
She's probably like 17 in the play, right? But she's old. The actress. I already Googled it to not get in trouble.
Yep,
Plus, when I saw it, I was in grade 11 English, and I was probably like 16, so that's all good.
Yep.
I was saying, oh no, did I forget it again? I just remembered it, and then I'm doing a monologue about it and Winona Ryder.
No, you're talking about the name.
Oh, look, that's the analysis thing. Because Eleanor at the beginning says, you need me because you don't know that Flint wants the thingy and Shane wants the thingy. Shane from Blind Wave? No, Vane wants the thingy. And she's like, oh, and Rackham will do anything for his legacy or whatever. So it's sort of that self-analysis thing of them reviewing their own characters and explaining their motivations to you in a funny way for Eleanor to give exposition to Rogers. And it's like, oh, that comes up a lot, how much Jack cares about his legacy and his name. He does not want to go and pretend to be somebody else.
I mean, that's his whole thing. Yeah.
Rarely, yes. The art will leave the mark. His name on history. He wants to be.
Which ties in with his backstory about how like he was a child, his dad ran a business, but then got ousted from the business, and then sunk into alcoholism.
Before him.
Sorry, what was before him?
His father before him, and his father.
Oh yes. It was established business. But essentially, Jack had nothing. But he heard about how the adults talked about Avery's name. And he wanted to become something like that, right? He wanted to have a name that lives beyond him. And that's his whole purpose in life. That's why he cares about the name so much and why he won't give it up for everything.
Yeah. There's a lot of Avery mentions in this season too, because they did the black spot. Knew about that from Uncharted 4, Pog. But you missed the punchline for his backstory, which is that they were doing they call it like pastries or something.
Oh, yes. Okay, I didn't understand the punchline actually. So yeah, explain it. Yeah.
Because he ends up like he would have had to do hard labor in a prison, but he would have been working at the wool factory, which his father and his father before him and his father before him was in competition with. But they had then petitioned the Lord to make a law against what his father did to outlaw his father, and that's why he became a drunk. So in the end, Jack would then have to work for the enemy of his family business through no fault of his father's debts. And it's like, okay. And it's like the punch. And then I would have had to work at the fucking wool factory after they fucked me. And my entire family ruined my life, because there is no justice in England because it is ruined. Jack is our straight white male lead, and even he is from a poor class, and he gets fucked over by England. This fucking system isn't working for anybody. We gotta kill them all!
Yeah.
And fuck with his fucking rich family inheritance shit. Dumb fucking shipping business. Fuck you.
Yep.
Look at how much ground I made up to be in this car.
He is handsome.
It's fucking... he is handsome. Him and Eleanor, my goodness gracious.
Yeah, what a couple, my goodness.
Yes, just the line of like... I made up so much ground to get here. The build up to it line so much better, and I can't remember it right now, but it's so good.
Yeah.
The monologue season, we're on a different level.
Yep. Yeah. So I guess in terms of the scene in the what do you call it?
Cart. Carriage?
Yeah, carriage. That's the word. Good job. It is an interesting pairing of these two people, right? Like, they are the two people in the show who probably care about their reputation the most. Which is, I don't think I'd ever considered that really before now.
And they got big egos and they fight. And will that come back in the end?
Yeah.
Win in the end?
So I guess on this carriage scene, I got two other notes. Oh, the one is that the one shot of the carriage chase is amazing. Like it lasts for so long, and you're circling around the carriage, and like it flips over, and you even follow it into like Vane getting off the horse and stuff. Man, it's so good.
And you can tell that it's Vane, and then he takes it off as he
Yep.
marches forward.
Yeah,
doesn't
he
give a
like
fuck.
he like steps off the horse without stopping. It's so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also I guess Vane also beats Rogers in that fight. Like after his shot, he like it's a close fight, but in the end he like punches him in the face, and he like can't do anything.
Well,
like, man, hell yeah.
Because Jack and Rogers initially fight, and Jack loses. Poor Jack.
Yep.
Will they fight again? Will there
No.
be a different outcome? So interesting. What's gonna happen?
Yep.
But just talking about like I like that because we started the season with them all on masks, and you slowly figure out that it's Flint just by like his mannerisms, and then you
Yep.
see his eyes. A really cute one is when Anne is the one that's clearly very concerned about Jack, and after the cart tumbles over, you can tell it's her because she's got fucking green eyes. Imagine having green eyes, Ari. What a time that would be.
I have hazel
and
eyes.
she kisses him. She kisses him, Ari. A platonic kiss.
Wild.
Cutest thing I ever saw in my life.
But I was thinking in that scene is absolute tension, because I'm like, I know that Rogers is alive, and I know he shoots Vane at some point, but when does it happen?
Yeah.
But yeah,
comes out. There is a sad like melancholy around scenes like that, and I've had this like a new like analysis brain thing. This is something I felt since I was like an 8-year-old kid. I feel like I had this when I would rewatch Ash battles in Pokemon that I knew he would lose, and I would find myself like, don't make Charizard use that move. Choose the other move, and he'll win. He'll beat Blaziken. And it's like, no, Harrison wins and Ash loses. And every time you would rewatch it, your dumb 8-year-old brain would be like, this time Ash is gonna win. And then you would like logic brain yourself to it as like, no, you can't. The disc wouldn't change. I swear, one time I had a thing like that, and it actually was the outcome I wanted one time, and I just misremembered it not being, and I was so happy. I was like, it's possible. It's possible. Some 8-year-old things. I have that same 8-year-old feeling watching the scene of like, man, this time Vane's gonna get away, guys.
Yeah.
Or it's just like a dread of like, oh no, Vane, just run away faster, get up. He's gonna shoot you. It's like I don't know. It's a great like it's such a childlike
It is, yeah. It's like this is a turning point in the story where it's like, if things change here, like imagine what could have happened, and like it's sad.
And it is funny when like when Jack gets back with Anne and Flint's like, "Where's Vane?" and like the implication is like you traded Vane for Jack, and you're like, this Jack brick is useless. I want Vane back, and Jack has to slowly prove himself. It's
because Vane lives on in him.
Yes.
Yeah, so 2 more Jack points. One of them is about how Rogers summarizes Jack pretty well. He says that Jack has lost everything and is powerless to do anything about it, so he is clinging to something to show for it all. And I think that's in the situation where Jack is like frustrating Rogers, where he's like, people will remember me as the person who like kept Nassau from British rule or something. So essentially he summarized it pretty well. He's lost everything and is just desperately clinging.
There's a monologue that Jack goes on at some point where it's like, it's something, it's like, and tomorrow we will wake up and the one thing Nassau won't be is British or something. And he's like, Spain will sweep through and we will rebuild from the ashes or something, but it will not be British and I will make it so. And this is still when Rogers is like a nice bloke and you're like, man, Jack. Then you're like, fuck England, let's go. Poor Rogers. He just hasn't figured out that England's the problem yet.
Yep.
Turns out there's more problems with that fellow, but we'll get into that next time. But yeah.
Yep.
Jack?
That's basically it. The last point was about how the speech he gives about the awful sacrifices are now part of the contents of the gold. But yeah, it's just great.
Like a sunken cost fallacy, or is it? Every time we bring that up, we're like, what is a sunken cost fallacy?
Yeah, it is. It is.
We do it all the time.
Let's go with it.
I feel like you and Bacon sometimes with Villain Saga, it's like
Yep.
We got to fight on for the dead souls or something, maybe, or maybe that's bad. Maybe it's good. We'll see.
It's good. It's good.
And that's it for Jack, right?
So next up is Teach. What's his first name? Edward? Ed something?
Oh fuck.
Edward Teach. I think it's Edward.
Yeah, Edward.
So first point, he looks so cool, and he has a cool way of fighting. Agree? Yes?
Well, I want to talk about his appearance. That's what I wanted to talk about later. Hold on. Edward Teach. Can you believe it? That's his name.
Beautiful.
He looks so skinny and small in all these images. They got him
No,
wrong.
he's
He's a big
imposing.
buff boy. There's something interesting about him, his appearance, right? Because he's not the most masculine bloke, but he's like so big,
Yeah.
and he's kind of like chubby isn't the right word, fat isn't the right word, plump is not the right word. They use plump in Fire
Plump is
Emblem.
somewhat like accurate. I
No,
don't
because
know.
plump implies that like you can't move. I think it's
I
like, oh,
guess, yeah.
he's plump, he's slow or something, but he's quick and he's agile. It's a very interesting portrayal of Blackbeard of him being so tall, but I don't know. It's like there's something about him that seems a little like soft, which is interesting, and it works very well with his characterization of sort of because sometimes when he's around, you're like, oh, nobody can kill us right now. Blackbeard's here. He's so
Yeah.
fucking good. And like later, he just loses to Woods Rogers now, and you still buy it because it's like, oh, there is like a vulnerability with him.
Yeah.
It's very interesting his characterization and how he can, like, even in the scenes where he's really cool, like in his first scene where the three blokes show up and they're like, you got to marry our sister or some shit, and he doesn't. None of them even know he's Blackbeard.
Yeah.
And he's like, fuck you. He kills them all with his guns.
It was also actually that was so cool.
Yeah. And then the end of the scene is like, make way. No, not make way for Nassau. What is it? Start for Nassau. What do they say in these
Make
fucking
haste to
pirate
mass
ships?
Nassau or something. Yeah.
Make way? No. It's when they break up. They always say
Sail.
the same thing. And I'm like, no.
Release the anchor and off we go. Wait, make haste, right?
No, it's not.
It is, isn't it? Make pace.
They say make haste sometimes, but
Oh god, I don't know.
get us underway. Get us underway. That's not what he says in that scene, but that is what they say all the time.
All right.
Nassau awaits is what he says in that scene. I'm almost certain.
Okay, yeah.
But then it's like, oh, he's coming to Nassau. That's fucking sick. And then I think the end of the first episode is him showing up. It's like, oh, help me find a friend. And he's like, oh, not Edward Teach. He's like, Charles Vane. You're like, what does he want with Vane? This is some crazy shit. I remember thinking this the first time. I was like, sick. But surely I was making a point there somewhere.
At his appearance.
He's imposing, but he's soft, and it's his very tricky characterization. Oh, I was saying, even in those cool moments, it's not the cool. It's a different type of cool. It's like,
yeah, okay. So he's not like some giant, like muscular, like imposing figure who can't be beaten by anyone. He doesn't have the strong. He's not the strongest man in the world, but he is like, you look at him and you don't want to fight him.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But the important part is usually when in shows they have the strongest dude who's the best fighter in the world, like the Mountain or something. They are built to literally lose, right? The David has to beat Goliath, but he is not Goliath. He is not like the thing that's built up to lose. Though you could suspect that at the beginning, or even in the Flint fight that's what's supposed to be happening now, because Flint is short when he stands next to Blackbeard.
Yeah.
But like he's specifically not the Mountain. Like in no regard, he is very differently characterized, even though he is so tall.
Yeah,
but
I love it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it is.
Good.
I think it is a big thing. Like his appearance does a lot to characterize him, even more than his actions, maybe. Like the way
he speaks is very particular too.
Maybe it is the contrast of his appearance, because he looks so like what's a good word for it? Not pretty, like very not refined. I don't know how to describe it. Like you look at his eyes and you're like, oh, there's a lot going on behind his eyes, you know?
Yeah.
There's something about him. I don't know. He looks like he would fit in very well as like a civilized general or something. I don't know. Blackbeard, Teach, what a guy. But his opening scene. So he gives I wrote it down here because it was a bit hard to remember, but he gives a monologue in the opening scene about eternal promises being lies, basically. Like when he's talking about how he promised to marry the wife forever or whatever, and he's like, oh, that's a lie. Because he says that there is no forever and everything ends. The closer you get to the end, the more you feel it coming, and the less you will commit to these forever promises. So that's like my paraphrasing there. Now,
this obviously all plays into the fact that he's dying, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Which does that actually come into play at all? I don't remember. Well,
no, it's just sort of like a sad melancholy that maybe melancholy is a good word to describe his
Hmm.
appearance. There's like a melancholy to everything he does, right? Because it's like, oh, he's slow. He's like, it's with any character that's like slowly dying of
Yeah.
like he doesn't have long. He's like terminally ill. He's got cancer, but we still need him to fight in the narrative. So he's got this shrapnel thingy, and it's going towards his heart.
Yep.
But fuck, I was building up to something there, but guess what?
His opening
what was I
scene
saying?
about forever and ever, amen, and it feels like forever promises
Oh,
shouldn't commit.
I think initially I was like, oh, just go live with the wife. That's nice. And he even seems to like his wives, even though he has like 9 of them, which is a real Blackbeard thing that they've sort of put in there, which I don't know if it fits with his characterization, but whatever. He could be like a playboy too. He has the old whore he talks
Oh,
to.
is that how you took it? Interesting.
I
I didn't take it like that
what
at all. I assumed he legitimately had great relationships with his 9 wives, but they all eventually had reasons for like breaking up, like a nice amicable like separation.
My point that I was going to make was like, I was like, oh, just go live with your life. You'll have a fun time. But obviously he doesn't want to live with his wife and just waste away because he doesn't have a lot of time left.
Yeah.
So there's like an extra reason for why he's not doing this. It's not just like, oh, a dumb wife. I gotta go fuck other girls and fuck up ships.
Yep.
It's like, oh, I only got a certain amount of time. I gotta go do these things now.
Yeah, I hadn't even considered that. That's great.
What an interesting character this teaches, huh?
Yep.
But what were we up to?
So I guess
was your dot point?
Well, that my one point there was about his first speech he gives, but that's pretty. I think we talked about that. The next thing is about how he talks about how comfort is bad and strife is good, basically. How struggling makes a man strong, and it's like difficult to fight someone who isn't afraid of their own death. Now this kind of makes him like an antagonist, right? Because like Flint is basically fighting for a peaceful like nation. Like he wants to build Nassau into something sustainable, and that's not at all what Teach wants. Now it hasn't. They haven't conflicted yet at all, and obviously they're in the council together at the end. Well, they've conflicted, but not over like they're not gonna like go against each other or anything. They're just staying out of each other's way in a way. But I just don't remember like because I remember when Blackbeard dies, I remember his death embodying something great, being like this. He died for something worthwhile. It didn't feel like an antagonistic death where I was like, oh, he's dead, but at least he's not going to get in the way anymore.
Yeah, he doesn't let Rogers like kill him because Rogers has to shoot him in the end because he can't, and it makes Rogers an idiot, really.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a final fuck you, and like so Blackbeard isn't like disgraced with a shitty death. But I think that is the gist of their first conflict, right? Is that Vane is sort of caught between these two ideologies. It goes back to like the Savannah thing of, right? They want to go, they want to live every day off the land and go ship to ship and never put down anchorage or whatever. It's like the domesticity thingy. But yeah, that's like his philosophy.
I guess I just didn't piece it together. Yeah, I guess it does make sense that it does tie into their first, like him and Flint's fight over Vane eventually. Yeah. Goddamn.
What were you saying about it?
The council, no,
it was specifically about Blackbeard and his motivations. What were you saying about that?
I said comfort bad, strife good.
Because adversity theory is a thing I learned in ancient history class about how you need adversity for a civilization to survive or something, and that was like an ingredient for a successful civilization with farming and good water and being near a lake or something. That was like one of the things in ancient history class we were supposed to consider, is that if people had it too easy, it would all fall apart. Which I guess is kind of represented. Yes, that's kind of represented in Jack not being able to get anybody to work, but
yeah,
but Rogers can, because like, oh, now shit sucks, so we got to like band together rather than shit being great and nobody wants to do anything, so we just fall apart.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
There was something else to that adversity theory point, but I can't think of it. Keep going. If I remember it, I'll scream.
All right. I got a few more points on Blackbeard. One is about his speech about women, basically, where he talks about how like one of his wives wouldn't allow anything near the bed, and even now, after all these years, he if he sees a broom near the bed, he'll move it. Which is a neat like little characterization thing for him, where it's like, oh, he's just a person, you know. He's not all about these big fancy ideals. Like he has a life, and when he sees a broom, he'll move it. I think that's really cute.
Yeah.
But monologue is actually Eleanor, but yeah, it's cool. And Vane.
Wait, Eleanor?
Like
what?
Yeah, because it's about Eleanor's
the influence on Vane. Yeah, yes. But it also characterizes Blackbeard a bit. But yeah, the real point of this monologue is him talking about how the marks that women leave on you are greater than the women themselves. Like you can get rid of someone, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't even think it's specifically about women. It's just like, oh, past experience builds you into who you are, and weird things linger.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, like even in Black Sail, some of the weird shit that I remembered the most is like the Hornigold and Eleanor reconcile. It's like such a wacky small thing to remember, and there's certain lines from the show that I remembered more poignantly than more important ones.
Yeah,
how wacky. But yeah, that's a great that. It is a great little characterizing thing where it's like, oh, Blackbeard, what a fella.
Yep. Nassau is the mark that Eleanor left on Vane. That's what he says in that speech as well. Great nice line there. Oh, Jesus. All right. He's dying. We already talked about that. Oh, sorry.
I said, is that all the teach stuff? But no.
Don't you worry. There's one more. He failed to account for me at the end. Great.
What a line.
Yep. Love it. But that's it for
so, oh no, hold on. The second last episode ends with him getting the news and like the slow pan around and all.
Oh, yes.
It's so good. And the one fella, the one like side character that he has that fights the one dude early on in the season and is then there for the rest of the season as his like right-hand man.
Wait, fights? Who fights in the beginning?
Remember when he first... Oh, we didn't even talk about him first showing up and meeting Jack and everybody, and when they have meetings with all the captains and he comes in and says Flint is dead.
No, wait, that's the guy that's with him throughout the whole season?
No. Yeah, there's two fellas that approach him.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
And one of them wins, and yeah, he's with him the whole season. He's news from that Vane was hung in the square or whatever, and he's around too. He's always standing next to him in Vane as like the dude in the back. Yeah,
that's great. I didn't recognize that was him. I thought it was just like his long time like Gates equivalent or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
I wonder if he'll die in the Rogers thing, because I don't remember his death, but he might die, and we might be like, oh, the little dude with the red hair.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's it. Unless you got anything. And miscellaneous notes, is it?
Miscellaneous notes it is.
All right. Miscellaneous note 1. Billy wants a king, which ties in with Flint's speech in episode 1. So I guess it's more a point for you. Do you have anything to say about that?
Wait, what? I for a second I was looking at my notes and didn't hear what you said. What did you say?
So Billy wants a king, and that obviously ties in with his speech with Flint in episode 1 about how there's a king.
I didn't even think about that.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, so I'm just telling you. What do you think about it?
Say that. Wow. He believes it. The fight, the Navy, the civilization is coming.
Yep.
It has come. We must get rid of it. Everything Flint said is correct, but all the bad things Flint has done to Billy especially are catching up to him. And Billy has now... It's funny because one of those, like, on a small scale of the Vane moment where I was like, no, Vane, don't do that. Thinking about Ash losing those battles, I sort of felt that when Flint lets Billy be the one that stays behind. I was like, no, Flint, you're fucking yourself.
Yeah.
This is the seeds of your undoing.
Yeah.
It's just come back to me. There's a scene in the next season where, like, Flint and Billy's, like, squads draw on each other and shoot each other in the street. Do you remember this scene?
I remember in a boat in the finale or something. I don't remember in the street.
This is like earlier when they're fighting on plantations trying to free slaves. There must be like a conflict, and Billy and Flint draw on each other, and they got like groups of guys around each other, and they all shoot. There's a lot of early Billy conflict I remember in season 4.
Yeah, I do remember that.
I vaguely remember a bunch of it. I remember big fights because the Spanish do come and like fuck up all of Nassau, and then they fight on the interior against Flint and his crew, and I remember them winning and that being a cool fight scene. We're gonna get into some interesting things.
Yep.
But what were we talking about? Oh, Billy and Kings, Lamau.
Crazy.
Didn't even think of it. Crazy.
Flint changed his life with that speech.
He did.
All right.
Oh, I do have a miscellaneous point about Billy.
Perfect.
Um, Billy speaks differently after he got tortured. Now, this is a point from last season too, but I forgot to bring it up last time. But Billy, especially early on when he comes back right after being tortured, he like speaks with, I don't know, he like lets his lip hang down a little bit more, and there's like a scar on it. He's continued to talk like that. He doesn't really talk the way he did in season 1. He's continued to like change how he
Yeah,
speaks.
I guess I did. I kind of noticed that. I didn't think about it explicitly. I guess that makes a lot of sense. Well done. Good
Yeah, but
point.
it's like, oh, scars of his torture still coming around. He seems like tormented a little bit more. He's not the Billy we once loved, as we'll come to see by the end. A dastardly Woods Rogers ally. Can you
Yeah.
believe it?
Yeah, that's terrible.
But yeah, keep going with your miscellaneous.
All right.
notes.
Okay. In the opening scene, you've got Blackbeard fighting those two guys. I really like how you don't see them fighting. Wait, what? What'd you say?
There's 3 of them.
Oh no,
There's
are there
3?
3?
Yeah, it's even the thumbnail and stand for the episode is the 3 of them
Oh
posing.
no, Kyle. Oh no. My point was that I like how there's 3 gunshots, but there's 2 people.
No, there's 3 of them, 3 gunshots.
Oh, beautiful. All right, I love it. There's always something I mess up here. I love it. All right.
Yeah, like Roger's having the flu. What the fuck's with that?
No, that one I'm pretty confident on. But we'll see. We'll see.
Separated from everybody.
Yes.
And he got the
Because he's
flu?
important. He's important. Everyone was getting the flu, all right? Oh, my goodness. All right. So, next up, we get a lot of sweeping shots of the water where you're like panning over the entire like ocean and you're seeing a bunch of ships and stuff. And every time I see that, I'm like, man, this is cool. And it looks so
There's a
good.
one that's particularly fucking sick. They even do it over the island where the former slaves live. They do that where
Yes.
there's like a waterfall shot they do. Yeah, that one's cool.
Good stuff.
A lot of painting shots. I wonder how they do that because they obviously don't have real ships firing at each other. I guess it's just a CG
Yeah, just
shot.
a big CG. Yeah, very well done. It won an Emmy for. Did we already talk about this?
I don't know nothing about Black Sails.
Yeah, no, it won an Emmy for supporting visual effects or something, which is like visual effects you don't notice, basically, like everything that is like really subtle. So well done. But if it didn't, and I'm just making that up, then I'm sorry to everyone listening.
Should have won Best Drama. That's what it should have won.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. I wonder what it lost to. I mean, it probably wasn't even nominated, honestly. But I wonder.
Still on it,
Yeah, I guess that
until
makes
20.
sense.
So, but Mad Men didn't win at the end. It was probably Breaking Bad.
Yeah, goddamn Breaking Bad. Legends.
Game of Thrones particularly not win any Emmys until season 8, and that's like the meme.
No, he won in season 4, Best Actor. Or something like that. Wasn't it Best
yeah.
Supporting Actor or something? Yeah.
I think Tyrion won Best Actor, Peter Dinklage.
Yep.
What are we talking about?
All right,
here?
miscellaneous notes. Jack and Max are like Anne's divorced parents.
Fucking bug! What the fuck is there a bug in here? Get out! What,
Wait,
you been in here for an hour?
hey, let it live. What did it do? Let it live. Let it live. You know.
Big fucking moth just come at me.
Hey, it's a moth. Who cares? Let it. Feed it some water.
I didn't get it, alright?
All right. Good. Good.
It's
We'll have to
completely
cancel
dark. It just came right in front of the screen. I was
How
like,
big
what
is
the
it?
fuck? I don't know. It's like it's pretty big.
Like 1 centimeter.
I don't know. It's like a thumb big. I don't
It's
know.
big enough to concern you. I understand.
It didn't concern me. It just shocked me a little bit.
Yeah, but you're a coward.
And I
Yes.
heard your point.
All
I
right.
screamed over your point for worse reasons before, Ari.
Oh yes. No, my point was genius, Kyle. Are you ready to hear it?
All right.
It's absolutely genius. So, Jack and Max are like Anne's divorced parents because they're essentially this whole time they're fighting about like who's Anne gonna spend her time with and like what's best for her and everything. And it's
I just thought about the wrong thing when you said that they were like Anne's. I was thinking they're like Max's parents, and I was like, they were raping. What? But they are. It is cute.
Yes.
Um,
no raping. They're all everything consensual there. We didn't talk about this at all, but the visuals and the atmosphere of the storm are insane. Like it's so well done.
Oh yeah, crazy.
Yeah,
crazy.
for a TV show. My goodness.
One of my miscellaneous notes is episode 3 really is just so good, and I think episode 2 is the storm.
Oof.
So I'm like, I wasn't about that.
Oof.
Episode 3 is dark, and the dying in the sun.
Yes. Man, what
Yes,
an
the
episode.
storm is sick. I think we mentioned this last time, but Flint like cutting the cable so the top mask flies off and there's like a bunch of blokes up there and they all fly
Yeah.
away.
It's
That
crazy.
shit's sick. When I watched them all going up there, I was like, oh, that's a regretful decision.
Yep.
Uh,
Oh,
and
the shot where you've got like Billy holding onto the mask and it like dunks in the water and goes back, and the guy he's still there, but then he flies off.
Yeah,
Crazy.
and he comes out of the water, but then he falls off.
Yeah.
Crazy. So good.
Yep.
Yeah, but like, I remembered that being boring. Like I remember the storm,
Oh
and then
my
they're on the
goodness.
Save Island, and what a bunch of boring bullshit, hunting sharks. Boring.
No.
Season 3 sucks. And I was like so engrossed in this dumb fucking storm battle.
Yep.
It's
Because
just
they're
like,
fighting the demons in Flint's mind, all right?
Yes. I
So
definitely hadn't at that point then, but
yes. Next miscellaneous point. Miranda teleporting behind Flint ear and screaming is terrifying.
crazy shit. Silent scream.
Yeah.
Remember Harry Potter? That's some freaky shit. Though I don't
Wait.
think the Harry Potter was scary.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Wait, you mean when Harry's screaming?
There's a no in Half-Blood Prince. There's like a necklace that this one girl gets that was supposed to kill Dumbledore. Malfoy was trying to kill him.
Oh
and
yes.
versus her to silently scream, and she like levitates in the air, and it's it's not that scary.
Yeah.
Miss Barlow screaming, no, that's some scary.
That
shit.
is scary, especially the just teleporting behind him.
And she's always got the shot in the blood, and she's wet, and it's like,
Yeah.
fix yourself.
And then
What's
there's the
going on?
Alfred Hamilton death figure, scary. So the music of the show is really good, and in particular, there's I don't know what I wrote here, but I wrote, see if you can parse what this means. But I said the music during the shake scene. do you know what the shake scene is? I think it's like a typo. I don't know. Essentially, there's one scene with good music. The other note on music is that the ticking music. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where they're like strumming like a guitar and it sounds like you're ticking, and it's it happens when there's a lot of tension going on and they're like building up for a battle or something.
I think so. I think right.
It happens like every episode, and there's even one episode where they end it on the end credits. So I'm like, man, this is some good music right here. But that's good.
I vaguely recall. I remember Avalanche. What a song!
Yeah, what a song! My goodness. Yeah, when I heard it the first time, I was like, yeah, that's Avalanche. What a great song. Okay, so it's just a point about Dufresne. Like we've said how he just, or how I guess I've said how he becomes a non-character, but I wonder how different the show would have been if he became like a point of view character. Like he's still like, obviously in season 2 he still does things and he's a decent character, but he's not a point of view. Right? He's always like next to someone, or like he never like has his own agency or does his own like stories or anything. Yeah.
I feel like they had to have changed a lot after the first, because the first actor had so much more.
Yeah, there was a lot going on with him.
He was so much more likable. Maybe it's just because Dufresne from season 2 on is just not likable at all. But I don't know. It was just like the second Dufresne just is terrible. I hate him. He's the worst.
Yeah, but the actor's good. It's just the actual character. It's just like he doesn't.
Yeah, and I feel like he's written to be detestable and then sort of written off because like we had a bunch of plans, and because I think that dude was like a really good actor, right? I think that's like he was one of the more known actors they cast. So it was like, oh, big role later. And obviously they set him up in season 1 to have a big role. And then season 2 he does a little bit. But I just feel like everything, like, I don't know, even everything that happened would probably be more interesting with like the nuance the first actor brought to it. I don't know. It just is fascinating. Like I feel like the show would have been a lot different if the actor didn't die.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe they'd already written scripts for season 2.
They had the ending figured out. Yeah.
He knew it all from the beginning. I knew it.
Yep. Well, all right. All right. So I have a general note about strategy. And I'm no strategist here, so it's probably wrong. But when Teach and Vane leave Nassau, it's interesting to me that they both are on the same ship. Like you figure if they're like the leaders of the fleet, you'd have them on different ships or something. Like Gates and Flint were at one point.
Yeah. Well. Vane does go on the separate ship to charge the thingy with the fire, and then that's part of the plan. So they kind of do split up.
Yeah, I guess.
But honestly, it's just to have them talk to each other because
it's cool. Yeah, love it.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the Anne swimming thingy at the end.
Oh, Kyle, that's so cool.
Got a hat on.
Man,
it's so good.
And the shot where she's like hanging off the side looking at the ship, it's so cool.
Yeah,
man,
like a
thumbnail shot right there.
Yeah.
It might be the image you were looking at the whole video.
Yep. Yeah.
But yeah.
It is so
I
cool.
don't know.
Like, it's like a whole, you're following her, like, perspective in that scene where you see her, like, duck into the hole and you don't even really see her.
And then she comes back up for a second and you see, like, the cannons firing. Yeah, no.
Man, that battle. My goodness. What a battle.
Swimming tracking shot. Imagine if you were swimming towards something like that. That would be fun. I like swimming enough already. It's like, oh, got a long swim. I wonder what it's like to swim in open water like that. I bet it's fun. I only ever swim in pools already.
You haven't gone to the beach, the ocean?
Yeah, but every time I was on the beach, it was just like near the shore, right? And you just like,
I guess
you're
that's
having
a
fun
good point.
over by waves.
Wait, is the Great Barrier Reef that's in Queensland, right? Or not?
Yeah.
Have you been
I
there
think
before?
Great Barrier Reef. I think it's like a ways off, and you go in like a boat and look at all the coral.
Yeah.
But apparently, like global warming is getting rid of that or whatever.
Oh,
and Great
thank
Barrier
God.
Reef
Thank God. All right.
Queensland's got nothing. You gotta celebrate.
Yeah, you got all those floods that happen every year, and we got the bushfires. It's great.
You're not supposed to swim in flood waters, Ari, all right? That's not good advice to give the children.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's all poisonous or something.
Yeah.
All
right. Next up.
In open water, Anne's cool.
Yep.
Her with her hat. Green eyes, crazy stuff.
Yep. Beautiful. So, my next point is about Teach and his marriages. And I just wonder, like, who broke up the marriages? Like, if it's him or if it's wives or, like, I don't know. It would say a lot about him, you know? If we
stay in one situation for long, that's the point, right?
Well, I mean, that it does feel like that's the point, but it would be interesting if it wasn't him at all and it was just his wives that were breaking up. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Another point is about how I love, I guess. I wrote like here, how pathetic, but I'm committing. I love how competent the Spanish intelligence is. Like, they feel like someone not to mess with, and they have all the knowledge. They had like a plan to invade Nassau, basically. I love it.
It is interesting because we really didn't talk about the Spanish spy girl too much. I don't know if there is much more to say. Like, I still don't remember. We had one note on her. Where is it? Oh my god, this note is good. Teaches Vane's Vane to Eleanor. Because Vane...
Oh, okay.
Like, he always turns on this fucking bug is back. I'm a karate chop it. No, he wants me to keep it alive.
No, you can open the window, let it out.
I don't have the key. I can't. It's not turned on.
No.
Anyway, because Teach is always getting betrayed by Vane, and just like Eleanor would always betray Vane, and then he still loves him anyway, just like Vane still loves Eleanor anyway.
That's great.
Now where the fuck is the Spanish woman point? I feel like the thing was just like, oh, it's so much more obvious. She's always watching, and like scenes will end with her looking at things. It's like, oh, because she's spying. But all the stuff with her kids are getting threatened. That's no good. And the scene of her like talking to the one Spanish spy, it's all cool. You said something to spur this on, right?
Spanish intelligence, very competent.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, and the one dude killed himself. My goodness. To keep the secret.
That's very true. All right.
But yeah.
Next up,
Spanish spy girl is much more obvious in retrospect. Always looking at things. I'd completely forgotten about her character until I saw her again for the first time. Right? We already talked about all that shit.
That's very true.
Turns out that was quite good.
Now we got to honor her by finding out her name. We'll put it in we'll pin a comment or something.
Oh. I got one more miscellaneous note, and I think all of my notes. I said the Anne boy is back, and he was. The one from the Anne scene where she nearly sleeps with the dude, he was back, and he was in a bunch of things.
Was he? I didn't even see him. What was he?
Yeah, he's on the beach when Hornigold first comes in. He's at all the Billy meetings he's one of the dudes that holds Vane down.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, so now I'm confused because initially I thought that was him, but then at the beginning of this conversation, you talked about the guy in the cage, right? Like the guy who I thought was a spy for the Queen. Remember his name? The guy in the slave.
Ben Gunn is always there too, but yeah.
Oh, I thought they were the same person.
No.
I guess they're all two
Ben Gunn has the prettiest eyes too, and he has a weird voice. I'm starting to think there's two fucking bugs in here because this one looks different than the last one. But anyway.
Beautiful.
And boy, that was a beautiful metaphor for what we were just talking about. The two blokes that you thought was the same thing. I might think these bugs are the same.
It's a crazy.
It's all coming
crazy
together.
work.
Oh my goodness.
Uh-huh.
All right. Next up.
Like, fuck the war. What do you want?
Let me see. What is this one? Oh, this is a great scene where you have Scott's daughter, well, Marty, but Scott's daughter goes to Nassau, and the girl there who works for Scott is like, where is he? And Marty says, he's fine. And then she pauses and is like, he's dying. I really like that, where she has like a moment where she's like trying to put up a face, and then she's like, why am I doing this? And she's like, he's dying. That was awesome. But
I actually have 2 other notes.
Beautiful. Go ahead.
Pacing is good. The framing of the end of episode 9 is Eleanor versus Flint as tacticians is fucking sick, bro.
Yep.
It's fucking sick. We didn't bring that up yet, but it was
so fantastic. That's another panning shot, isn't it? I think.
Bitch, fucking Anne killed him. Dumb fucking commander dude is like, I'm not going with the Horn of Gold, and Mr. Underhill came back and he gave his own ship of people. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Damn Underhill estate.
I think we go to his estate, right? We kill him next season. Flint shoots him.
That's terrible. Poor man. What has he done?
Yeah, because we freed his slaves and he was holding a slave hostage or something. What a prick.
Aye.
We killed him dead. Little fat man. But also, my other one, that was about, yes, Eleanor versus Flint is sick. It's kind of like the Flint versus, they used to kiss each other on the forehead all the time. How cute. But it's also sort of similar to the Flint versus Silver and Maddie thing at the end of the next episode. But also, my only other point is about another thing. The merchant guy was in the final episode when Max reads the Long John Silver letter. So good. Max is great at reading things, great at dialogue, greatest accent I ever heard in my life. Right, Ari?
Who's the merchant guy? Oh, the
merchant guy. The one from like the first 2 seasons, the one that ends up that Max buys Eleanor's thing from.
Right.
Yes, he wasn't in this season at all, and then I was like, why is he there? He's there. I thought he sold everything and moved to the interior.
Yeah.
Max reads the thing, and there's not like a close up of him. He's just in like a wide shot. He's near the front though, so part of me is like, did they just forget that this bloke was a character and then they just put him in as an extra? I don't think so, though. I don't remember him in the next season, but we'll see. Mr. Underhill though, he's coming back.
I can't wait. And
it is so cool when that dumb fucking Commodore bloke gets his fucking ship blown in because Anne took over the other one, and the shot coming through is so sick. And then he's talking to the dude, he's all fucked up. He's talking to the underdude. Yep. The dude under him in the chain of command. It's like fucking dead.
Yep.
Lamau. Down with the British is what we say around here.
Amen.
But you got more miscellaneous notes, I assume?
I got 2 more. 2 big, well, they're not really big ones. This one is, this is a very, I wonder if you probably picked up on this, but I thought this was really interesting, which is that, it's that scene where you've got Max, Anne, and then that, like, British guy, and they're talking about how, the route that Jack is going to be taken on has been exposed, and the guy's like, oh, don't worry, there's no way, we had all these alternate routes. And then Max is like, oh, well, my person knows. And he's like, oh, you didn't tell anyone, right?
Yeah, because it's like, I assume you didn't scout the non-used routes, whatever. Like, and then he goes silent.
Yeah.
What a dumb fucking air-filled Commodore bitch. Boy.
But what I love about that scene is, like, the dynamic where first you've got Eleanor, essentially, like, he turns around and he's ignoring her, and he's like, you're not fucking hearing me. Right? And then everyone looks shocked. And then he turns around, they have the conversation, and then he ends the conversation by saying, well, then we have nothing to fucking worry about. And it's so great.
Oh no, you aren't. But yeah, it was a cute little clapback.
Yeah.
I actually don't hate that guy that much. I thought he was kind of cute. But I think it is in that scene, and a line I just wrote down to bring up was like when he says, like, he's like to Eleanor, he's like, just because the governor chose to put his trust in he's talking about penises.
Yep. What a conversation.
Fine, yeah.
I love the back and forth there. It's great.
What a scene.
All right. Last miscellaneous.
Like the easiest joke in the world.
Yeah.
That was really good.
The tension is there as well, you know? The other people, they're all thinking it, and it's
they're all looking around.
Yeah.
Because when she starts going off and says, you're not fucking listening, it reminded me of like a girlfriend-boyfriend conversation that happens at a party and everybody looks. Yeah. We have to awkwardly pretend we're not listening to this.
Yep.
But yeah, it was funny.
All right. This is a strange point to end on, but here we are. So the last miscellaneous point is about how Vane and Scott die in the same episode. But at the same time, Rogers is very sick in that episode. So I guess my point here is about how if I was watching for the first time, it would be like a reasonable prediction to think that Rogers is also going to die in this episode. Like, and have the three, like the leader of the pirates in like Vane, the leader of the slaves in Scott, and then the leader of like civilization in Rogers, like all dying in that episode. Could have been a very real possibility. But it wasn't. But
Didn't think about that, but I guess it could be thinking that.
Yep.
It makes sense. I guess.
Beautiful.
Now, not to end on that, we can talk about
Beautiful.
bad British boobs again and how terrible Eleanor
goodness.
is in that dress. Comment below. Choose a side, cowards.
Yep. She is the most beautiful she's ever looked this season.
Ugh, my goodness.
I even made a point in one episode when I was writing it down, but I don't know which episode.
Lusting over Eleanor in British attire and not pirate attire. Can you believe that? Ugh. What, do you like Silver with his beard more too?
Oh my, yeah, he looks like Blackbeard a bit. Man, it's great. Anyway.
Remember his blue eyes when he just has this beautiful shaven face? I'm going to bring that. Doesn't look as mean though. It looks like a little pretty boy.
Yep. All right.
Do you have anything
else?
After miscellaneous? Nothing.
That's it.
Who's excited? Anything you don't? Let's go over what Ari doesn't remember. Somehow, Eleanor's grandmother just doesn't exist. That whole Boston plotline he's just forgotten about.
Yep.
He's forgotten that the great Jack Rackham joke with Max on the ship when they reach Boston. You've forgotten Max's potential husband to the new governor that
No.
Eleanor's grandmother is going to install after this fucking Wood Rogers prick gets fucked over. You've forgotten Anne and Max's monologue in the snow. This is all just Boston stuff that you've completely forgotten.
Yeah.
Israel Hands we remember though.
Yes.
You don't remember the There Be Dragons speech at the end, at least not very well, and you fucking believe that.
But I do remember Blackbeard's death. And
Yes,
I remember hating
Blackbeard
Billy at the end when he did something bad in a ship. And I was like, the goddamn Billy.
Billy idiot is.
Yeah.
There's other shit you don't remember too.
Oh,
Idiot.
yeah.
You remember how Eleanor dies?
I vaguely remember she gets shot by like a Spanish guy, I think. But maybe not. I don't know.
I think but there's like a house fire and things like this.
Yeah, I remember there was a big struggle.
And Flint comes and sees her at the end and they have the final moment together.
Interesting.
It's cute. Like, Flint and Eleanor back together.
That's
crazy stuff. Like, I got free reign to spoil shit and gauge your reaction. This is like my dream of how. Like, remember when Rhaenyra?
Nope, not at all.
He doesn't remember. He hasn't fucking read the Wikipedia page. Embarrassing.
Maybe I will.
That's a conversation for after we hang up. No, not after we hang up. After send the people home.
Yes.
So we'll be back with season 4, and Ari will remember everything. God,
I will.
I can't wait to get a message from you one day. Eleanor's grandmother, the greatest character of all time.
Yes. All right.
You got to do the outros for these videos.
All right. See you later.